welcome to Watch, Review, Repeat. This is the podcast where two best friends discuss the latest in film and television and then do it all over again the following episode. My name is Colton Brown. With me, it's Andrew Meadows.
Hello, sir. How are you doing this afternoon?
We just got a copyright strike just for that. I'm doing well. We're talking James Bond on this episode. And this episode, wouldn't you know it, it's a bonus episode. Woo! Come on, round of applause. Oh my goodness. It's the second time in 2021 that we're releasing a bonus episode to our ever so loyal supporters on Patreon. We've been slacking on that front. And what I'll say is that our release schedule has been so jacked up for the regular releases that by putting those episodes up early on Patreon, I would say our Patreon supporters have had a bonus episode every time we've recorded in a way, you know what I mean? So at least a timed exclusive bonus episode, which is what this one is, of course. So select few, the people that are supporting us on Patreon are able to listen to this as soon as it goes up there. There are some other folks obviously listening to this sometime down the line as a regular episode, and that's very cool too. But a bonus episode is something that we do every so often. It used to be more frequent, admittedly, in which we skip all the fluff of the podcast and we pick a topic and we just do a deep dive on it. Usually it is related to something happening. Of course, anyone that heard my horrible rendition of a certain theme could recognize that this is the episode where we're going to be talking about some James Bond films. And in particular, we're going to be talking about the Daniel Craig James Bond films because, of course, Craig's final performance is now in theaters with No Time to Die, and so it only seemed appropriate to take a look at the prior four films before we took that separate deep dive into his fifth and final performance as James Bond. So we're here. We're talking the four Daniel Craig films from 2006 to 2015. We got Casino Royale, Quantum of Solace, Skyfall, and Spectre on tap. So four films that we're going to be talking about. I think it's going to be fun. What do you think?
I like James Bond. I like James Bond a whole lot.
Bond.
Yes.
James Bond.
Shaken, not stirred. It's going to be
good stuff. It's good stuff.
Yeah, it's timeless, man. It's timeless stuff. Well, I can't necessarily say timeless. Some of the stuff gets a little hairy, but it's classic James Bond. I mean, it's
a classic character, you know?
That's the best way to put it because there's different. It's like Batman. Different people bring different things to the character.
Absolutely.
And Daniel Craig is he's for all intents and purposes, I think he's probably my favorite James Bond.
Yeah, he's kind of our Bond. He's the one that we grew up with, right? I mean, I guess you could technically we grew up with Pierce Brosnan for a minute there, but I think James Bond, is a traditionally more adult-leaning franchise in terms of its popularity, and so even though we might have grown up with Pierce Brosnan, it's not like when you're a 9-year-old that you're like, oh man, I fucking love The World Is Not Enough, or like it's not really your thing. I don't think at that point. I don't think it's until you get a little older that they start to resonate more. At least, maybe I'm just personal anecdote. Maybe you feel differently. Maybe you had a different experience.
I think the not Pierce Brosnan James Bond, but like Connery. They feel different than this Bond. You know what I mean? The tone's completely different. I mean, I guess the tone matches the times, I guess. The older James Bonds were real gadgety, where I don't think you get a lot of that in these. They're more grounded. And particularly in particularly Casino Royale, it felt very much a product of its time. You know what I mean? You can look at every James Bond, I think, and they distinctly feel like a product of that period or the product of that time. And it's cool to go and watch an anthology of films and and kind of see how things change, you know? So James Bond is one of those things. I think on Thanksgiving I think it's on Thanksgiving anyways. They would air them all on Spike, and it would be like a 72-hour marathon of all the James Bonds. But I'd sit down and I'd watch all the James Bonds. They're great, man. James Bond is fucking cool.
Very cool stuff. It's a really good franchise. This is the 24th bonus episode. I'm throwing it out there. And there have been 25 James Bond films officially. There are 2 unofficial productions. I'll touch on that in a little bit. But we were so close to matching the perfect number of James Bond. But technically, No Time to Die is the 25th Bond film, and we're not getting to that yet. So maybe it worked out. 24 Bond films, 24th bonus episode. We're not talking about all 24, mind you. Although maybe at one point we might have had an idea to talk about all the James Bond films. But we can always backtrack. We could do a Sean Connery bonus episode sometime down the line. We can just plan a bunch of bonus episodes that we'll never record. That's usually how we roll. So it is a rarity that we are actually doing this one. But it's worth the time. It's worth the effort. So let me just go ahead and say another few words about what's going on with this episode, and then we're really just going to go right into it. So again, a bonus episode 24. It's a timed exclusive episode for our supporters on Patreon. Patreon.com/watchreviewrepeat is the link for our Patreon. So if you give us $2 a month, give us money. If you donate $2 a month to us, then you get early access, exclusive access to bonus episodes like this one, as well as early access to all of our regular episodes. Which, as I have said, I'm not kidding. I think that's a huge plus right now, because I'm still trying to figure out how to edit with some sort of normalcy, and I haven't been able to really do so in a few months. So things have been a little crazy. But I do want to say, if you are listening to this as a patron, a huge thank you for your support, keeping me alive when I didn't have a job. That was really appreciated, of course. And if you're not a patron, that's no big deal. I'm certainly glad that you're listening to this in some capacity as a regular listener. But remember, it's not too late to support us on Patreon. Again, patreon.com/watchreviewrepeat. So if that is of interest to you, have at it. We highly encourage it for obvious reasons, because it personally benefits us. But it's good. It's good. It helps cover costs for the podcast. It covers hosting costs, movie costs. We go see the movies, technically pay for A-list. We have equipment costs and stuff like that. So there's various costs. We're not profiting from it, really. It's just kind of covering
it's a labor of love.
A few things. So yeah, we do it because we enjoy it. We don't mind taking the hit for it. If I had an eye for media and social media marketing or whatever, then maybe I'd try to make it more into a business, a side business or something like that. But it's really not like that for I'm not saying that would be a bad thing. I'm just saying it's not really like that.
And I'd probably drink less during the episodes.
No. We would lose all the charm. And to be fair, drinking a lot is very James Bond-esque. So I think if anything, you should be drinking more on this episode. Yeah. It looks like you got some wine there. Get another bottle. Right? Get some liquor. Get some fucking liquor in here. Cheers. Yes, indeed. Cheers to James Bond. Let's talk a lot of James Bond. Let me just set up some things for James Bond. I'm sure everyone knows about James Bond, but I feel like for the sake of completion, I'd like to do a little tale before we get into some of these more recent films. So James Bond, of course, is a literary character who originated in a 1953 novel called Casino Royale, which was written by Ian Fleming, British author. And, he's a Secret Service agent. He's a super spy, code number 007. He's a real badass. He's a real ladies' man. He's James Bond. You could say James Bond and people just know what a James Bond type is. Obviously, he's worn a few different faces in terms of film adaptations. Sean Connery, as Andrew talked about, was one of those actors to portray James Bond. He was, in fact, the first to do so. And in the 25 official Eon Productions, that's the company that has since the beginning of making these films, since Dr. No, the first James Bond film, they've been responsible for all of them. He's been portrayed by the likes of Sean Connery, George Lazenby, Roger Moore, Timothy Dalton, Pierce Brosnan, and of course, the man we're talking about on this episode, Daniel Craig. So, there's a lot of films that we're going to skip. We're going to bypass right away, although maybe we'll talk about them as we talk about, James Bond. Of course, they're bound to come up. We've seen probably, well, it sounds like Andrew's watched all of them since he marathoned them all. I don't know. Would you say that you've seen every James Bond film? Are there any that slipped through the cracks?
Over the years?
Yeah, in your lifetime, not recently.
Yeah, no, I think I've seen them all. Some are more forgettable than others. But like, if you tell me, so the hallmark of a Bond film are the set pieces, and kind of like the globe trotting, or so
yeah. If this country, this is the Bond girl, this is the villain, etc.
This is the action sequence, Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I can't. I'm not like I get maybe the words of a savant. Like I don't know all the fucking things of James Bond.
It's a lot of movies, so
yeah. So, but if you told me, do you remember the sequence from this movie? I'd say yeah, I could probably remember it, but I wouldn't be able to tell you what sequences from what movie or whatever. You know what I mean? Or, but I think I've seen them. I think I've seen them all. I feel confident that I've seen them all at least one point or another.
Okay. Yeah, I myself, I think it's possible. I don't know. You do some digging. It's possible that I've seen them all. I definitely don't remember all of them. I do remember. I think as a family, there were definitely some watchings of some James Bond films in my youth, and I feel like maybe again, kind of what I said at the beginning of the episode is like, I think there was a point in my life where like James Bond was not interesting to me at all. So I've probably seen some things. Wow. And they just didn't hook me. I was too busy obsessing over Batman and Robin and whatever other classics came out in the late 90s when I was a kid. It really wasn't until Casino Royale that I think that I really truly gave a shit about James Bond, when I was a teenager.
See, GoldenEye, played the video game, was all about
that's
all the
true.
James Bond games.
Did. Yeah, I mean, I have. Yeah, I think I probably enjoyed GoldenEye as a video game more as a kid than I did the movie itself. Like the movie itself just probably just a little over my head, I think, at the time. So I don't know. Like I said, clearly you and I had some different experiences in terms of our youth, and with our relationship to James Bond. But I feel like
Westerns.
It's always
like I grew up watching Westerns too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I didn't really. So yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, Batman and Robin. We'll do a bonus episode on Batman and Robin too. We can revisit some childhood classics. Yeah. Oh, perfect. Classic. But yeah, James Bond. Okay. Let's talk about some James Bond. You got all those people that were cast. Great. Daniel Craig comes in. Daniel Craig gets cast in probably 2005. They announced that this man has been cast, coming off the back of Pierce Brosnan, his immediate predecessor, a very suave, kind of cool iteration of James Bond, some corny ass films with some ridiculous shit going on.
Fucking satellite that can focus the rays of the sun. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Diamonds embedded in his face.
You could say that the franchise had gone a little off the rails at that point. Maybe again maybe we can flesh out that conversation with a nice little Pierce Brosnan bonus episode at some point in the future if we're really deciding to be gluttons for punishment. But hey, some are good, right? GoldenEye's good, right? Daniel Craig is kind of apparently not the model image that people had in mind, that the Brits had in mind for casting James Bond. So he comes out, he's announced as James Bond in 2005. He's on this boat being introduced to the press corps who's all out because big James Bond announcement, and people were fucking pissed. I don't know if you remember any of this. But no. I find it interesting. Obviously, we live in a very different, version where we've now seen Craig for 5 films, and I think his performances as Bond have been pretty revered and held up as in the franchise, I would say. But people were upset. He had blonde hair, and he's like, James Bond has dark hair. Like, he doesn't have blonde hair. Like, who the fuck's this guy? Apparently there was an internet campaign through a website called DanielCraigIsNotBond.com per Wikipedia. Daily Mirror ran a front page news story critical of Craig with the headline, "The name's Bland, James Bland." So people were not fans of this at the time, and it was kind of a big deal. It was a sort of reboot, new direction for the franchise, coming off the back of whatever the hell the last Pierce Brosnan film was. I don't even know. That was Die Another Day.
Die Another Day.
Which it's not surprising that killed that iteration of the franchise. But yeah, Daniel Craig comes on board as James Bond, and it's quite the saga. But that brings us to the product, to Casino Royale. So that we can now take these deep dives into these 4 James Bond films starring Daniel Craig in the titular role, and we'll get into it. We'll obviously be doing full spoilers for all of these. These are movies that are in some cases 15 years old, and most of them are close to a decade old. Really, only Spectre is the only one that's like not super old, but it's also still 6 years old at this point. So like it's been a long ass time, is what I'm saying. So yeah, let's have at it. Casino Royale. It was released November 17th, 2006. Written by Neil Purvis, Robert Wade, and Paul Haggis. Directed by Martin Campbell. Starring, of course, Daniel Craig alongside Eva Green, our boy Mads Mikkelsen, Jeffrey Wright, Giancarlo Giannini, the Watcher Jeffrey Wright.
Yes.
Another episode that we'll be doing at some point in the future. Giancarlo Giannini, Jesper Christensen, and Judi Dench, the one person to reprise their role from the Pierce Brosnan films as M. Judi Dench as M, featuring the song "You Know My Name" as the opening credits theme, written by Chris Cornell and David Arnold, performed by Chris Cornell, rest in peace. Casino Royale. After earning 00 status and a license to kill, secret agent James Bond sets out on his first mission as 007, in which he must defeat a private banker funding terrorists in a high-stakes game of poker at the Casino Royale, Montenegro. So Casino Royale is where the Daniel Craig tenure as Bond begins. And perhaps it is the high point of the Daniel Craig tenure. But it's now been 15 years since this film came out. I'm sure we liked it at the time. You had the opportunity to revisit it, as I did. And I want to hear your thoughts about Casino Royale. What do you have? So
Casino Royale for me is my favorite James Bond movie.
Period. Not just Daniel Craig?
Period.
Ooh. Of all 20, well, we'll say 24 for this time. We'll excise No Time to Die as of this recording, even though we actually have both seen it at this point.
This is what... It's a new kind of James Bond, right? It's a new Bond.
Grounded, gritty, throw the gadgets out the window.
Yeah, it's a spy movie. It's a spy movie
anymore.
You do have... The core elements of the character stay the same, right? He's super spy, he's suave, he's a womanizer, and yeah, I mean, it's so good. But the cast, the ensemble in this one is phenomenal. Everybody nails it. Absolutely everybody. And I think that Le Chiffre is an excellent Bond villain.
Yes.
We're gonna be talking about the sequels to this, but I have to say though, because they introduced him in the beginning of this movie, and by the end of the movie he's still the main bad. And there's, I don't know, and he's just so menacing. And he's an awesome actor.
It's because it's Maz. I mean, he brings so much to this role, and I think probably for you and I, this probably would have been our first exposure to Maz as an actor. I think it's probably one of his earliest, if not his earliest, like English language American films.
Is it really?
I guess this is technically a British film, but you know what I mean.
English speaking, right?
English speaking, English language film. Yeah, I would assume so. I mean, it's 2006. Obviously, he's been around for a while, but I think it's got to be one of his earliest ones. Maybe probably not the first. I wouldn't say, but yeah, I think it's got to be around there. Oh, that's right. He was in King Arthur. That's right. The 2004 Antoine Fuqua one with Clive Owen. I did forget about that. He's good in that. But yeah, I mean, just taking a quick look, from what I can tell, he'd been acting a lot.
It was definitely my first exposure to him.
Doing a lot of Danish films, but I think in terms of English language, or at least non-Danish productions, I think this is one of the earlier ones. So yeah, first exposure for Maz, and he nails it.
And man, I the way this particular movie is written, everybody is witty, and all the dialogue is just so sharp, and it's I'm at a loss for words on how to describe this movie. So we'll start with the set pieces. That's a core Bond thing.
I mean, right? We could probably do that with each film, of just kind of deconstructing it, and then seeing where that conversation takes us. So yeah, I mean, I don't know how big or how small you want to get with defining the set pieces, but I feel like the film opens with this cold black and white opening, and that's like almost like a very pointed message, I feel like, of being like, this ain't your daddy's James Bond.
No, yeah, exactly. It starts out like your daddy's James Bond. He's sitting in the office building, you know what I mean, all black and white, and he's sitting there, and he's like, whatever he says, I can't remember.
Whatever.
But he says, the second, and he shoots him, and
yes,
he was wanting to say easier or whatever, and it's just that. And I think all the James Bond is always real witty in how he talks and stuff, but Daniel Craig just nails it every time. And then you go into the jungle, and then that's when you get introduced to Maz, and he's collecting money from from guerrilla fighters and stuff in some country, and then all of a sudden he's breaking into M's house, and he goes to the Bahamas, and when he goes to the Bahamas, that's when well, I guess when he breaks into M's house, he just doesn't give a shit about anything. He's just a badass. He doesn't care. I'm going to do what I want to do, and I'm going to get it done.
Yeah, and I think you almost get the earlier demonstration of it, because before he goes to the Bahamas, you have this whole parkour sequence. This big, huge, like,
oh yeah. I totally skipped over that.
Climbing on cranes, and he's just completely destroying this building. And he runs straight through the wall.
Yes, it's always stuck out through my mind. He just barrels through the wall.
This guy bounces off the wall, climbs through this little opening atop the wall, and Daniel Craig just barrels through, and just he Captain America's that shit, to use a more recent reference, but
pummel through the tubes.
Yeah. He's just a blunt instrument. Just forcing his way through everything. And then even when they go to the embassy, he still doesn't give a fuck. He's just like, oh, you think you're you're in you're on the embassy.
He
so
marches his ass to the embassy right there in the main building, right there in the main office.
Yeah.
Oh man, throws his gun at the fucking guy. Throws his gun at his head. When he catches the gun on the crane, catches it and just throws it back at him. Oh man,
it's good stuff. It's
a lot of really badass stuff in this movie that really just it sticks with you. Maybe it sticks with me because it was just it's so nostalgic. But even watching it again, and then watching every other movie that comes after this,
it's still exciting.
It's still it's incredible.
It still gets you. It still grabs you. The action is still interesting, even though it's going to happen. And not to skip ahead, but I don't think that's true of all the other films. No. I think this one's shot in a much more kinetic way that keeps you engaged, and and you can follow the action because of the way it's shot. It's good. It holds up. It's a testament to how good this film is that it holds up, from the story, from the writing, to the action. It all still feels fresh even 15 years on.
Best part. He throws that Land Rover in reverse and backs it in, because that guy thinks he's a fucking. He thinks he's a. What's it called? Valet parker.
Oh yeah. I see. Oh yeah. When he's in the Bahamas, yeah, that's good stuff. I
love it.
I like when he wins the Aston Martin, and then he's taking the guy's wife.
Yes.
And she, do you live close? And she's like, very. It just goes in a circle.
And I don't know if you paid attention to this. He drives so fast everywhere.
He's got one speed. Foot to the fucking bottom of the car.
Everywhere.
Pedal to the metal.
Around the circle, he's driving fast, parking his car. The car sits there and shakes because he slammed on the brakes. Everything, anytime he drives anything, it's fucking fast. It's so cool. And that's what's cool about there's a sequence in a later film, we'll talk about it. But anyways, in this movie, everything is getting driven fast. Which was I thought it was hilarious. I laughed every time I saw him driving.
No, it's great. It's great.
The cast. The first lady, the Bahama lady, that's the wife of the guy that has the Aston Martin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She's stunning, and that's when you really know this is a Bond movie. You know what I mean? When he steals the guy's wife, you know what I mean? And to try to get information from her. He pops up out of the water in those itty bitty little shorts. He just walks up over to the beach, and she's riding the horse on the beach. Everything's all majestic and it's almost everything in the Bahama sequences. Actually, beyond the Bahama sequences, everything in the movie, everything is beautiful. Everything in this movie is a beautiful sequence. Everything. From the set pieces to the way it's shot to the actors and the actresses, everything in this movie is just higher than life, just pristine, turned up to 11. And they make a comment about it when he's playing the poker. You know what I mean? Oh, you changed shirts, and it just draws the extra attention to the level of detail, to the level of high life that Bond is always present in. And that's always something really cool in the James Bond movies, is that, he's a secret agent, and everybody that he deals with and the kind of circles that James Bond's rolling in is just super, super fancy. Everything is so fancy. Everything. And it's really cool because this particular James Bond is not a super, and Eva Green makes a comment about it in this, which is awesome. The suits he wears it with disdain. You know what I mean? And he's just, the person itself is out of context with the suits and the stuff that he's wearing because he's so brutal. You know what I mean? He's a blunt instrument dressed up as a suit, and it's cool that you have that contrast. You have that contrast of who the character is and what he does and everything else, and he's dressed up in the super fancy world that he's in. It's cool.
It's also cool because the development of his character, the writing of his character shows even within this movie, and obviously it's fleshed out in further entries more, but you see this evolution of the blunt instrument into being someone who isn't just, always ready for a cage fight, someone who's okay with settling down and enjoying the quieter moments in life, but obviously things don't end all that so well. Badly. But
he wants to so badly. Oh, yeah. How about this? Being stripped naked, tied to a chair, and having your nuts slammed by a fucking rope. How about that? Oh my god! The whole world's
gonna know
that you scratched my balls.
That I died with you scratching my balls. Yeah.
Oh, so brutal.
Yeah.
Very menacing sequence. I don't think there is a equally Like,
is that the most harrowing sequence in any James Bond film ever?
I think
it's
so.
The moment where every man watching it just squirms.
There's another moment where he's getting drilled in the brain, but it's not nearly as
it's not as visceral. It's not
as this.
It's not. It's like the
inside of a fucking boat.
Sweaty,
fucking getting slammed in the nuts by a rope. Oh, it's so brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, this movie.
It's good. We can honestly gloss past it. It's good. He stops this fucking airplane from getting blown up. It's another big set piece. The Miami airport, there's a huge set piece there. But I think the strength of this film is its second act. Or really, I guess it's, I don't know, almost even second and third acts almost feel like the I don't know. I don't even know if this fits into a traditional 3-act structure, because I just feel like the fallout of everything, the ending with Vesper and how that all develops almost feels like an extended epilogue. Right, that's exactly. Like an extended epilogue. Like, it goes on for like probably 20 minutes, so it's not like nothing in the film. But really, the strength of this film is that it really settles into itself. I mean, it's got, this black and white opening, you got a huge chase, you got, you're setting up Le Chiffre, you got the Bahamas, you got this Miami airport sequence, but then we settle in at the Casino Royale, and, they're just playing a game of poker, and a few rounds of poker.
It's so high, you can cut it with a knife.
And obviously it's punctuated with bits of action and Bond almost dying and having to be resuscitated and a story between him and Vesper, which we'll talk about. But a lot of it is just kind of in this singular setting, which obviously again goes to a few different places. But yeah, there's still, at the core, there's still a few moments where they're just playing poker and it's fucking tense. And it's like, oh man, I'm interested in watching people play poker. And, they televise that sort of thing. People are into that sort of thing. Poker's pretty fun to play. So I think it's more fun to play than it is to watch. But it's very tense watching this. Games. Yeah, fair. People are out there that like it. Andrew's out there.
Casino Royale.
Because it got you into it.
Yeah, it got me into it. I watched that shit on ESPN.
Which do you prefer, real life poker or Casino Royale version of poker?
I've never played I've played real life poker in house.
I mean, I guess watching high stakes poker on TV on ESPN. Which one's more enjoyable? Do you like the James Bond version better?
I like the James Bond version because I'm kind of an idiot, and the guy's always like, and he's moving the cards and he's like telling you, okay, full house beats a pair. He's
explaining everything. It's like, okay, I get it. I get why that set of hand, that hand won.
Exactly. For those that don't know, but they do it in such a way, it feels so organic when he's explaining. It doesn't
make you feel like a dummy. It's like, yeah, I know how it works. It's like, I get it. All right, it's good. I think it's it's a strength to make a card game visually interesting for film goers. Like I think that's easier said than done. It's one thing in video game, you have the mini games where you're fucking playing The Witcher and you get stuck playing Gwent for 5 hours or whatever. Like that's kind of its own thing. But here it's like cards. How do you make it? How do you convey that as an interesting thing? And they did it. They really did do it. So
it's good. To make the money, well, I mean, it's not mundane for people that are into poker and stuff, but to make something.
Well, I imagine if you're not,
to the wider audience, to make a mundane card game so tense, it's invigorating. It's cool.
It's good, and it's. I think the way that it works so well is because Craig is great. Maz, obviously opposite him, is great. He's crying a little bit of blood. Very very. It's a bit more subtle than having a diamond in your face or whatever the fuck. But it's still Bond-esque, just a little bit of a Bond touch there, which is appreciated.
That's the cool thing about this movie, is it's so simple.
Yeah.
You have a terrorist manipulating the stock market. They send in James Bond. Boom. Yeah. Done.
It's grounded. It's not larger than, it is larger than life, obviously, but it's not to the extent that we see in future installments where it's...
Or previous installments.
Or, yes, absolutely. Previous installments. Correct. Absolutely. Where it's just, it's just purely ridiculous in a lot of them. And not in a bad way. Sometimes in a in a good larger than life way, but this one feels a bit more, I guess maybe Bourne-esque, or just more traditional, like espionage, you know what I mean, where it's just like, yeah, this could be a, I don't know, just like a spy novel, which I guess it literally is, obviously, and that is worth saying. This is based off of the original Casino Royale novel, the first one in the series. But it is a modern day update to it. It's not poker in the original novel. It's baccarat, and there's very intricate explanations of how it plays in the novel, which I read years and years ago. It's a different version of that with a lot more additions and stuff. But it still feels grounded. And I guess we could just go back to that word. Grounded is really what it comes down to. It just doesn't have the same sort of hokiness, I think, that some of the other Bond films do. And I'm not saying that that's always bad, you know what I mean? But this, because it's so different, it makes it feel fresh, and it just feels right. Like the sensibilities are just, I guess I just vibe with this iteration of Bond more because it feels more realistic, a little bit more, boots on the ground than some of the other ones do. So, and I think throughout the film, it's
our generation's Bond,
right? Of course, I'm a teenager watching this, but I think that if I'm a teenager growing up watching Die Another Day, which I guess I was close to basically being a teenager, like it's not really like it's so different. You know what I mean? Like one. It's hard. It's kind of crazy to think that they're in the same franchise. Like it's been a year since I watched Die Another Day, and it'll probably be another few years before I decide to do so again. But I'm just saying, like those two films back to back.
Is that the one with
pure insanity?
They ride around in the tubes. They ride around in the pipeline. Is that
I'm
the
not
one
sure.
With
it's the Ice Palace one with Halle Berry.
Okay.
Yeah, there might be tubes in it. I honestly don't know. I'll be honest, I don't know. I remember the Ice Palace.
John Cleese is cute.
I think there's a guy with, someone who can turn invisible. I don't know. Maybe I'm just making that part up, but. I don't know. I swear there's something along those lines in that, but I don't really know. Anyway, real bad. Real bad stuff. But anyway, Casino Royale, not real bad stuff. In fact, real good stuff, you could say. And yeah, the Casino Royale stuff, the set piece there is great. Oh, got to talk about Felix Leiter, man. Felix Leiter, Jeffrey Wright, he's awesome.
Yes.
In this. I liked that they brought him back for some other installments in this franchise as well. I think he's great. Jeffrey Wright is fucking Jeffrey Wright. He's awesome.
Eva Green.
But yeah, I think Eva Green. I think she's fantastic in this. I think she might be the best. I mean, she's I guess at this point, in terms of the Daniel Craig films, she's kind of the OG Bond girl, right? She's kind of the one, I think, who got away. I guess in a way of putting it, obviously.
Yeah, right. Got away is a loose term.
Right. Not of her own, she got away of her own doing, I guess, but a tragic end to her story, a tragic end to the story between her and James. But I think Eva Green brings a lot to this role. I think Vesper is just as sharp as Bond is. They are equals to each other. The chemistry radiates off the screen between these two. It feels earnest. It feels real. The dialogue is so witty and so good that it, the snappiness plays really well, but also the more tender moments really, play well. Like when she's forced to defend herself, when she's put in danger, and he comes to her, and when she has just the shower running, and she's clearly just shaken by this experience. And James Bond is no stranger to, shit going sideways and having to kill people. So for him, it's old hat a little bit, but he still understands kind of the rawness that comes with that territory. And that's when you're starting to see the shell of James Bond being pierced, and it's really good to see the development of their relationship to the point where, come around to the epilogue, and they're on the boat or whatever they're doing. They're having a grand old time. Yeah, they're on a boat at one point. They're having a great time, and I'm just like, I'm good. If this movie ends here and we get no more James Bond films, it feels like a satisfying conclusion. Obviously, we don't get that. That wouldn't be fair. We have to ruin James Bond's life, just a little bit so we can have some more films in the franchise. But I do think that those two felt very genuine, and it's good. This is, as we know, kind of the first a series of missions of the development of James Bond into the James Bond that was closer to the one that we kind of have used to seeing. But I just think building him to that point offers a lot that we haven't really seen in a lot of James Bond films. Like On Her Majesty's Secret Service is another one where like the love interest gets a lot more play, and I think is written better. And some of the other ones, it's kind of a fleeting romance that is not going to last for more than a movie, and he's going to move on, and he's going to have another set of missions, and he's going to fall in love with someone else for 5 minutes, and it's going to be fine. This isn't that. It doesn't feel like that, and that's good. It's a good thing, I think. So,
yeah,
anyway.
The emotionality in this one was definitely the real strong point, because she kind of breaks down James Bond a little bit.
Exactly. Exactly. She strips away that callous exterior,
and makes a lot more of a character out of him. And unfortunately,
and it makes the ending all the more tragic for it.
It does, yeah. And then I don't think I mean, we're going to be talking about the other movies, but I don't think you get a lot of that in the other movies. Other movies, not at all. So, we'll talk about them.
Yeah, but
is there anything else that I need to say on Casino Royale? Oh. The opening fucking song.
Yes.
Chris Cornell.
Great Chris Cornell giving us a very, very, I mean, almost everything in this movie is like a rebuke of previous Bond films. And that, I think, includes the track You Know My Name, which is a lot more rock and roll than anything I think we'd seen from any previous Bond films. Very, very, very different vibe. And it's a great song. It's a fantastic song.
There's only one other song that I think is... There's only one other... This is an excellent song. But yes. I would put this song against another song. Another movie we're going to talk about.
Okay.
But this is an incredible song. Man... So the opening sequence is a thing. We keep going back. I'm all over the place. I apologize.
We're all over the map. That's fine.
The opening sequence where you get the James Bond walking and then shooting the gun, from the barrel of the other gun.
Right. So it's like a pseudo gun barrel sequence, like a prototype gun barrel sequence, because he's not quite like 007, really.
The opening sequence is always something to talk about in each James Bond movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, little bit of an opening set piece, yeah.
Yeah, and then you get the opening credit sprawl and everything else. It's something that's hold true to the opening credits, because it's a thing kind of like forgotten amongst other movies. And this opening sequence is incredible. Simply incredible.
Very colorful, the use of all the cards and like the symbols stuff. It's great. I think it's
the
very
bullets
good.
are spades, which is particularly cool. You get the fighting and the card characters. It's very artistic. It's very cool.
Yes, totally agree.
This, like I said, I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say it. I think this is my favorite James Bond movie. I think this is the high point for Craig.
Yes.
I think not because of Craig. It's not a high point for Craig. It's a high point for his iteration,
his tenure. Yeah.
This one is written the best. I'm not going to go out and say that I think that the cinematography is better than other movies, because there's a lot of fantastic things in other films, as far as camera work and shots and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But the way that the kinetic nature of the kinetic nature of this movie is excellent. The emotionality, James Bond is more than just a womanizer and a secret agent. You know what I mean? You actually have a real character here. The character development's awesome. The ensemble cast is on point. Every person you see on screen has a significant role in the film. Everybody is important. Nobody really gets glossed over. And I think what I value most is it kind of just boils down the most important things of what a James Bond movie should be. And just really works on the basics. And I think you have a fantastic film. I mean, even if you separate all James Bond stuff, you have a fantastic film by itself right here. It's an excellent movie. Highly recommend it. So
definitely worth a go. Worth a rewatch if you haven't seen it in a while, especially if you're gearing up for No Time to Die. I think, honestly, I don't think you should do this. I think you could, for the most part. I honestly think you could watch Casino Royale and just jump right into No Time to Die. You could do 1 to 5, and you're missing things. Certain characters are going to be like, "Who's this? What's going on? Why is it Judi Dench in this?" You might be a little confused about certain things, but I do think that there's so much set up for this character in Casino Royale.
You could do 145.
Yeah, I think 145 could work. But there's so much set up in this that that is integral to the character of James Bond as portrayed by Daniel Craig. Like, this is the core of the character that we see filled out by his experiences here and the tragedy at the end of Vesper. I guess you could say sacrificing herself in a way for him, but also, for Bond, it's him being betrayed by a woman he's fallen in love with, and having to deal with the fact that he opened himself up and got wounded by it. You know what I mean? Got really hurt by it, so he has to revert back to being Stone Cold Killer Bond, which we see the fallout of that in the next one. And so yeah, Casino Royale is an excellent film. I think I said as much before I even handed the mic to you, figuratively, not literally. We're in different rooms. It is the high point of Craig's version of James Bond, and that's not a bad thing. Like, obviously it sucks, like you don't want to do the first one and peak there, but it's so damn good that it would be it sets a really high bar that it's not surprising that they haven't been able to clear it. I don't think
it's almost like a wave, right? Like, this one pushes the wave so high that the other ones, like, even if you have a Bond movie, even if the next couple movies aren't as good as this one, you're on the high of the first one. You know what I mean? It's
and to be honest, and this will bleed into the other conversations, but the other movies are kind of riding the coattails of this one, and for good reason.
Yeah, sure.
You know what I mean? Like, they're still kind of riding the high a little bit, because there's still a lot of continuity, which is kind of novel for James Bond in its own weird sort of way. That, like, you still are feeling the effects of Casino in every other movie. Like, Vesper is probably mentioned in every movie in some capacity, I would guess.
Yeah.
Like, that experience is so powerful for James Bond that it informs everything he does in the next at least 3 films. We'll say 4 too, because it's just who he is. So that's Casino Royale. It's a damn fine film. You should watch it. And now we should talk about the next film from Daniel Craig's run as Bond, Quantum of Solace. What does it mean? No one knows. It's a real bad title, I'll tell you that. But it sounds cool. Nobody knows what it means, but it's provocative. Quantum of Solace was released November 14th, 2008, written by Paul Haggis, Neil Purvis, and Robert Wade. Directed by Mark Forster, stars Daniel Craig, Olga Kurylenko, Matthew Amalric, Giancarlo Giannini, Gemma Arterton, Anatoly Taubman, Jesper Christensen, David Harbour, Rory Kinnear, Jeffrey Wright, and Dame Judi Dench. The title track, I guess it's not really a title track, the Bond theme in this is Another Way to Die, written by Jack White, performed by Jack White and Alicia Keys. In this film, seeking revenge for the death of his lover, Vesper Lind, spoilers for Casino Royale, James Bond discovers a mysterious organization that intends to stage a coup d'etat in Bolivia to seize control of their water supply.
Coup d'etat.
Coup d'etat. So, interestingly enough, Andrew ran out of time and bypassed a rewatch of Quantum of Solace. Is that still correct? Is my understanding still accurate?
I did.
You had to make a strategic choice of which one to skip.
I had to make a split decision. I don't know how M puts it in Skyfall, but I had to make a decision, and I made it. I know that when I saw this movie in theaters, it put me to sleep, and it's the shortest movie, I think.
It's definitely the shortest in his tenure. Probably one of the shorter Bond films overall, clocking in at an hour and 46 minutes. I think all of the other ones are north of 2 hours, and some are well north of 2 hours. So,
and this one always put me. I've fallen asleep, I think, a large number of times I've watched this movie. So maybe that's to my detriment. Maybe I should have watched it because I would have been coherent when I watched it. Mm-hmm. But I did. I did not revisit Quantum of Solace. So I probably won't have a whole lot to say on it.
Okay. Well, I can carry it. I did do a rewatch myself. What I'll say at the top, because otherwise I'm gonna laugh to myself and people are gonna think I'm just going crazy. Google, or I guess YouTube, Something of Boris. It's an alternate theme song for Quantum of Solace. I think it's hilarious. So check that out for anyone that wants to press pause and listen to that. I think it's great. It's basically lampooning the fact that the title is just ridiculous and makes no sense. But Quantum of Solace, it's an interesting film. I'll say that I like this film. It's certainly not Casino Royale. But it's a worthwhile film. And I think story-wise, it's worthwhile. I think I like a lot of what this film strives for. I like a lot of what it does. And when I describe Quantum of Solace to anyone, I describe it as downloadable content for Casino Royale. I think that's the best comparison I can make, because I don't think it's a film that stands all that well on its own 2 feet. It's basically Casino Royale is a very complete story. It's got a beginning, middle, and end, but that end is really all that this film explores. In depth. It's the continuing the journey, but it's really just about Bond's vengeance and basically Vesper dying and being involved in this organization, and him just on a path of destruction, figuring out what the fuck happened. Like, why did she do this? Who are these people? What's going on here? That's what this movie is. It's really just fleshing that whole thing out to the point where by the end he gets some answers and he feels a little bit more resolved, and it's like, okay, I'm ready to move on. And lo and behold, the next film kind of feels like more of a clean reset, where whereas this one is super, super interconnected with Casino Royale. So my viewing recommendation, we can talk about the specifics of this film in a second. My viewing recommendation is watch this shortly after you watch Casino Royale, because I think that they work better together. I think that's somewhat of a flaw of this film, is that it kind of is really, really, so dependent on another film. It's not really how films should work. But, talk about the MCU a lot, and I think most of those films are standalone. But hey, if you popped into Avengers, Infinity War or Avengers Endgame, you'd be like, what the shit's going on with some of these guys? It'd be a little jarring at times. So it's closer to that in a sort of way. And I think I made the point, but it's kind of novel. Like, a lot of the Bond films have very much been self-contained. You move on, even if it is the same actor. Like, it's new Bond women being introduced. It's a new villain, blah blah blah. And like, this one's a new villain and new women, and whatnot. But it plot-wise is very, very connected to what has come before. So yeah, I mean, plot-wise, it continues, I think, the grounded nature of Casino Royale, where like the big bad's scheme is basically, I'm gonna take control of water supplies so that I can become rich. Like, pretty understandable evil businessman motivations, right? Nothing too crazy, not world domination per se, just I'm rich, but I want to be richer. So fuck all these people, basically. I don't give a shit about them. I'm evil. And, there are some other seeds in there. You have Olga Kurylenko's character, who's, I think she's like some other secret agent for I don't even know. So another country, we'll say. And, she has her own kind of mission, her own kind of personal vendetta against another villain, and it all comes interconnected, and, blah, blah, blah. That's Quantum of Solace, right? So, yeah, all right. I mean, that's kind of my just general things I wanted to get off the top. What was it about Quantum, if you recall correctly, obviously not having the benefit of seeing it recently, what was it about it that just didn't seem to do it for you?
I don't know. Maybe... Is it a little Michael Bay-ish? Is it a little mind-numbing with the action?
Yes. I think the worst aspect of this film is its editing. It's schizophrenic and shoddily done, we'll say. It is cut. Like, you do not... Like, it's at times it's just like... at best, it's like, shit, I don't really know what's happening. I can't really see it. At worst, it's like, oh God, I think I'm going to throw up because of the fast movement here. It's really, really shoddily edited and put together. Purely in terms of like the action sequences, I think, broader editing in terms of, moving from set piece to set piece or scene to scene, that's fine. I think that all works fine. It's not jarring because there's 30 minutes missing. It's just so weirdly edited. It's like, it's got that sort of Bourne-esque type of close camera, lots of cuts, and I hate the style in general. I think we've finally gotten away from it in the past few years. I think we've safely abandoned, the sort of handheld, shaky, I can't see what the fuck is happening action that that cropped up in a lot of movies for a while. But it's really egregious here. Probably one of the most egregious examples of it, and it's unfortunate because I think I like the story in this, but this is like one of the weird instances where the action is anytime shit starts to happen, I'm like, oh fuck, here we go again, and some of it's better than others. It's kind of weird. I mean, we didn't talk about it when we were talking about Casino, but there's the bit where Bond gets in the Aston Martin. He's going to chase after Vesper because she's been taken. And we think we're going to get this badass car chase. And, oh, shit, she's in the middle of the road. Fuck, veer off the road, flip. You get that subversion of a car chase in James Bond.
And it's awesome.
Which is really clever. It's really cleverly done. You don't see it coming. You're like, oh, shit. It's just, really sudden, exciting moment. I think Quantum was just kind of like, all right, so they didn't do the car chase in that one. We did get the foot chase, we got the parkour and stuff, but Quantum really, really just goes for broke in terms of chase set pieces. Because, let's count them, we have a foot chase towards the beginning. There's some sort of, there's a twist where there's someone embedded in MI6 who turns on M and turns on Bond, and then Bond goes to chase him, and there's a foot chase through Italy for a bit, and then they go in this area where they're swinging around on ropes and firing bullets at each other and shit. You may remember some of this. This is probably a blur for you, but yeah, that sounds vaguely familiar. So you got that. Number one, you got the foot chase there leading to the monkey, climbing around on ropes like monkey sequence. Good stuff. Really good stuff. Followed by, I think a little bit later, maybe 10, 15 minutes later, there's a boat chase because Bond, goes into this thing, and there's a general on the boat, and Olga's trying to kill him. Camille is the character's name. She's trying to kill him, so she's following with her own boat or something like that, or she's on the boat and she's trying to kill him, and then Bond follows this boat, and then he gets on the boat, and then he gets her on the boat, and there's just a big boat chase. It's really good stuff, clearly. So they've got that. That's two.
It's Transformers. You tell me it's Transformers.
I don't think it's quite. I get it. It's too much.
Mind-numbing.
It's mind-numbing. It's absolutely mind-numbing. So if that's kind of what you're looking for in terms of the comparison,
that's what it is. The only time I'm going to take an hour and a half worth of violence. And I like action. I don't want to sell myself short. I really like action. But the only time I'm going to take an hour and a half worth of violence is if it's just like Raid-esque, like visceral shit.
And it's not that.
And it's not that, and it's not shot like that. It's not shot like that. Like I said, the editing's rough. So if I can't appreciate the choreography, if I can't appreciate the cinematography, if I can't appreciate much of anything other than explosions,
then like, why are we here?
Like, yeah, it's just mind numbing. And so the only set pieces I remember in this movie is the opera and the desert explosion. Is there a big explosion at the desert?
There's a big fire. Yeah. The whole compound gets set on fire, so there's lots of stuff happening in the fire at the end. So yeah, you've got some recollections of it. You know, those Bond set pieces that stick with you, as you talked about.
Right. So those are the two I've got. Other than that,
okay.
Is this the one where he runs on the rooftop of the UK in the beginning? He's running. He's running through the. It sounded like that. That's what I'm thinking. He had a broken arm or something. His arm was in a sling, or his arm was messed up in the beginning of this movie.
I don't think so.
Maybe I'm thinking of something else. Maybe I'm thinking of Pierce Brosnan.
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. It also sounds a little Mission Impossible-esque to me, so I don't know.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
It's all the spy movies just blend together. No, so here, let me backtrack for just a second. I forgot to mention the fucking movie starts with the car chase. I already blew right past that. So it starts with the car chase, then it transitions. Once he parks the car, I think we get the title sequence.
And then you get a foot chase.
And then, 2 minutes of dialogue, shit goes sideways, foot chase, 10, 20 minutes, boat chase, 10, 20 minutes, plane chase. Plane chase.
Oh,
plane chase. We get a plane chase. So yeah, it's too much. It's like overcompensating for the lack of like chases and Casino, which like we had enough. Like it was fine. And I think the problem is not a lot of it is really in service of the story. It's really just action for the sake of action. And sometimes that's fine. Like the car chase is fine. It's starting off making up for the car chase, but then it starts to.
It all depends on. I mean, for
it starts to feel perfunctory.
It all depends on how it's shot. And
that's just it. Yeah. I mean,
how is it shot? And you can have an entire movie of car chases. You can have an entire movie with no words and just cinematography, and it's enough for me. You know what I mean? But you got to have something to appreciate. I mean,
yeah.
A car chase you can appreciate a car chase. You know what I mean? There is talent that goes into it, but I mean, if it's edited in such a way, or if it's, I don't know. It's hard for me to critique the movie accurately because I haven't watched it recently. I just know every time I've tried to watch this movie, it's put me to sleep. Every single time.
I think, fortunately, it's a short film. I think that's to its strength because there's not enough in this to make it compelling for longer than its runtime. And it's unfortunate because I think the bones are there. I think the story itself of Bond, Bond is basically like a fucking loose cannon, like the loosest of cannons in this, where like every time he's like chasing a lead about like what we learn is Quantum, this organization Quantum, it's basically just being like, what do you know about it? And they're like, oh, and then he just kills them. Or sometimes he just gets into a knife fight with this guy in a hotel room and he accidentally kills him. Purposefully kills him, but he's not really like trying to kill him. He's just like, well, shit. And M's like, God damn it, Bond, stop killing everyone, to the point where they like shut him down halfway through the movie and he's just like, can you fucking stop killing people? I'm taking away your resources. Your card doesn't work anymore. You cannot just do whatever the fuck you want, and Bond's just like, okay, that's nice and all, but I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want. And then, it works out eventually. Like, that's cool. I like that, that it's blunt instrument Bond that we saw in Casino, but like even more because he's just so filled with rage from the fallout of Casino Royale that like, even if he is kind of one note in that regard, like it's cool to see him, just leaving such a trail of bodies. It's cool, and I think it's unfortunate that the actual craft of the filmmaking craft in this movie doesn't live up to, I think, what it could have been. I think there's some really good moments in this. I know it's been a while since you've seen it, but we see Bond reunite with Mathis from Casino Royale, and Mathis gets betrayed himself and gets killed, and it's a really kind of sad moment where Bond is just like, he's got to move on, so he just chucks his body in a dumpster, takes some cash out of his wallet, and just moves on because
Holy shit.
It's just brutal. It's brutal stuff. I think Camille, who's Olga Kurylenko's character in this, like she's cool. She's it's not really like a sexual relationship between her and Bond. It's very much she's had this huge childhood trauma at the hands of this asshole general, and basically she's kind of like Bond on a path of revenge. Their paths align. They can work together, and try to meet this common goal. Bond's trying to get answers about Vesper. Camille wants to kill this general because he killed her family, and because he basically left her to die in a fire. So I think there's some really, really compelling bits of story in this. It gets drowned out by the noise of it all. And I think that seeing it, once or twice, the noise probably wins out a lot of the time. And I think now that I've seen this probably 5-6 times, if not more, I can appreciate the subtleties of what it was going for. Unfortunately, it's just not a subtle film, and that's really, really to its detriment. So, like I said, I like this film, but I acknowledge that its shortcomings obfuscate, I think, the bits of good that we see in it. And it kind of sucks because I think it does do a good job of setting up this shadowy organization, Quantum, which the other films that we'll talk about really, really kind of pull on that thread in a much, much bigger way. It closes the door on Bond and Vesper in terms of him kind of coming to grips with why she did what she did, and him being able to move on and not be someone that's just leaving that trail of bodies behind him. And so I think all that's very poignant and very, very well done. We still see some traditional Bond. There's a character in this film named Strawberry Fields, which is very, very Bond, played by Gemma Arterton. Yes, Christmas Jones. I thought Christmas came only once a year. Nuclear physicist Denise Richards.
That's the one. Okay. That's the one with the tubes when they're racing around in the tubes.
What is? I think is that The World Is Not Enough? Or no, that's.
I think that's The World Is Not Enough. I think.
Well, there's only one way to know. It is The World Is Not Enough. I was correct. All right. Yeah. Thought Christmas came only once a year.
So suave, that James Bond.
Good stuff. Anyway, Quantum. I know. Obviously, I've been mostly monologuing here. You did.
It's my fault. I apologize, everybody.
I think that if maybe it feels pointless to revisit it after now that we've recorded. Maybe you don't have fuller thoughts on it. Although we haven't recorded our No Time to Die coverage. If you find time and you want to visit Quantum and maybe offer some more 2 cents, I won't put it. It's not the worst idea, but you do.
That'll be my fun fact.
That'll be your fun fact. I did the thing. So I think that probably, for me, covers it for Quantum. Do you have any other thoughts? I don't know if I've sparked any memories or anything along those lines, but
no, you pretty much covered what I remember of it. I mean, I just remember explosions and
definitely some explosions,
destructions and gunshots.
Lots of destruction, definitely gunshots. Yep, all of the above. It certainly fits the bill for a James Bond film. Okay, one last thing that I will say in defense of Quantum of Solace. This was a production nightmare, and I think that explains why it's kind of a choppy, weird sort of film. They basically filmed most of this movie without a finished script, and not because everyone was just being irresponsible and really just, on a time crunch, but because a lot of it was made throughout the 2007 to 2008 Writers Guild strike. Basically,
I remember that.
Anyone that was a member of the Writers Guild was not allowed to work on scripts, because of the strike. They were on strike. They weren't working. So
same reason Heroes had a problem, right?
And same reason that Heroes, the TV show, went completely off the rails and never recovered. Unfortunately, some shows fortunately did recover. For this one, basically the writers had part of a draft, I think, done, and then basically they kind of had to, push came to shove, they had to start filming. And I think Daniel Craig and director Mark Forster worked on the script as they were doing it. But, writers, they are not, I don't think. So, anyway, that's my slight defense of why Quantum of the Solace is maybe a bit of a hot mess. So I will leave it at that. I think I will leave it at that. And I think perhaps it's now time for us to move on to the next Daniel Craig James Bond film. Skyfall.
Yeah, that's it.
Skyfall. Oh my goodness. Released November 9th, 2012. Written by Neil Purvis, Robert Wade, and John Logan. Boy, those names are starting to sound familiar. Well, I guess John Logan is a new one to this one. Directed by Sam Mendes. Stars Daniel Craig, Judi Dench, Javier Bardem, Ralph Fiennes, Naomi Harris, Berenice Marlowe, Albert Finney, Ben Whishaw, and Rory Kinnear, featuring the title track, I can say that this time, Skyfall, written by Adele and Paul Epworth, performed by Adele. James Bond's loyalty to M is tested when her past comes back to haunt her, and when MI6 comes under attack, 007 must track down and destroy the threat no matter how personal the cost. Skyfall. It's the point where things start getting a little better. Quantum was a bit of a dip. Skyfall comes a little bit back up, wouldn't you say?
I would say that. I would agree with that.
All right, I'm gonna let you head the conversation here, since you had a monologue. Spoke a lot on Quantum. Yes, exactly.
All right,
so yes,
Skyfall is in most recent memory because I watched it. We haven't talked about my viewing order. My viewing order was all fucked up. So it
was.
I started with Casino Royale. I'm pumped up. I'm going to watch me some James Bond. New one's coming out. We're doing a bonus episode. I'm watching them. Watch Casino Royale. And then things happen. Life happens. I can't quite catch them.
So it goes.
Yeah.
So it goes.
So Sunday's rolling around. My only day off. I'm going to grind out the other 3 movies. Right? Shouldn't be a problem. Anyway, so I go to queue up Quantum, and Sarah, my fiance, her dad texts me. Her dad, Kelly, texts me, and says, "Hey, what are you doing today?" So I'm watching all the James Bond movies, and he says, "You want to go see No Time to Die?" And I've been really wanting to go see it, but now the temptation's there because somebody wants to go see it with me because Sarah doesn't. She has no interest in James Bond.
Not her thing.
Yeah. So I'm like, all right. So I'm going to go ahead and watch Spectre. So I watch Spectre and then go watch No Time to Die. And then now we're recording the bonus episode. So I have to make a decision. Which one am I going to watch tomorrow? And I ended up choosing Skyfall. So anyway, Skyfall is the most recent one I watched. I did not watch Quantum. So Skyfall's I'm going to start with the song. I just find it excuse me, not my favorite Bond song. Didn't really do anything for me. I think it's kind of contrived too, that the songs I don't know. It just didn't do anything for me. But it does start in a big way. With James Bond getting shot off the fucking boat or off the train. Holy shit. Mm-hmm. Get shot
just
off that
plummeting
train.
into the river or water, whatever it is.
And we're back. I don't know how visceral Quantum was, but I know everything about Casino was visceral, right? It felt real, felt genuine. And this motherfucker flies all the way down. just completely ragdolled all the way down to the bottom. And enter the song. I enjoyed the entrance into the song. I thought that was cool. I also enjoyed how Bond in this is kind of like he's way down deep. He's on some sort of beach drinking drinks with a scorpion on his hand.
CGI scorpion.
Yeah. And he comes back after the building blows up. I don't know what the building was called. But the Secret Service building blows up or whatever, and he comes back and he's in his house, and his eyes are all like bloodshot, like he's been fucked up for months, and he just looks fucked up. He's got a beard. James Bond never has a beard. He's got not beard, but he's got like a 5 o'clock shadow going on. He hasn't shaved in a while. And he stinks apparently because M says a shower could be in order, and so he's all fucked up. He comes back home after he sees, his home getting blown up. So, I find that compelling. The fact that he just gets called back when he had such an easy way out. And it kind of he's kind of thrown into this giant conspiracy thing, right? With like the organization and this and that. This has a big set piece at the end. It didn't do a whole lot for me. I thought it was kind of stupid at the end.
Okay.
I also didn't enjoy the fact that you don't find I'm blurring the two. I'm sorry.
Are you confusing it with the other one-word Bond film that also starts with an S?
Yes, yeah. I was kind of blurring there at the end. But the ending of this movie, it was sad because M dies, and that's a big deal. I will say that Javier, I'm bouncing around. I'm not good at monologuing. my thoughts are all the map. Yeah.
It's all right. We'll deconstruct it when I start talking. So yeah,
Javier Bardem.
What are your thoughts?
Incredibly entertaining in this shit. I thought he was super entertaining.
Can you do the sound when he's?
No,
I can't do it. I can't do it.
The rats. They do not eat the coconut anymore. They eat the rat.
They just eat the rat.
It's so good. Like, he's fucking fantastic in this movie.
That's that introduction because it's all one take. It's him coming down the elevator and like monologuing. He's good at monologuing. That's a good monologue right there. I'll tell you that. He's monologuing the whole way down the hallway as he slowly walks towards Bond.
And the timing's perfect, right? The amount of effort and the amount of coordination it takes to set your pace with what you're saying, to end your story about the rats on the fucking beach with how you approach James Bond him sitting in his chair, right? Like the amount of like coordination effort that goes into making that is great. Like it's awesome. You also get the sequence in where they're fighting with the Komodo dragons. That was cool.
Oh, yeah.
You also get the sequence...
Just in Shanghai? Is that
yeah, it's in Shanghai, I think. And then you get the sequence where the guy assassinates... The guy that he was fighting on the train, assassinates some dude, and they're fighting like under the light of like a giant billboard or something, across the across the way. That was cool. But for me, my money in this movie is Javier. He kills it for me. I think his character's pretty kind of like his character itself doesn't do a whole lot for me. I think the way the movie ends doesn't do a lot for me. But the performance does a lot. I think he just took what he had and he went ham with the character, which was cool.
He went for it.
Yeah, he definitely went for it. Daniel Craig was cool in this movie. He I don't know. He showed there's a big character arc with James Bond in this one, which I found entertaining. I found that good. He had a good character arc. He went from down in the dumps to M pushing him through his tests in order to be reintroduced into service, and he showed a lot of heart as the character showed a lot of heart. You also get introduced to a new Q, I think.
Yep. First time in the Craig era that we have a Q, a quartermaster.
Yes, and I definitely enjoyed Q in this movie. I will continue to enjoy Q in the subsequent films. I think he's a cool character. And I really like the introduction to Q at the
museum.
The museum, yeah. And they have that witty exchange. I think that's cool. There's something about two characters just like fencing each other, with their words. That I think is wildly entertaining. I think it's really cool to watch that on screen.
I'm not going to say it's exactly the same, but it's why the early interactions between Bond and Vesper and Casino Royale, stand out.
Yeah,
because it's just that for a bit, where it's just verbal barbs traded. It's good.
It's good. Yeah. Stuff like that is just it's worth its weight in gold. You know what I mean? That you can sit there and watch an exchange with people, and it speaks volume about the quality of the writing, and not only the quality of the writing, but the delivery and the acting prowess behind it on the delivery. It's really something that you don't see a whole lot of, and I think when you do see it, it's definitely worth speaking about. And I think Q nails it with Daniel Craig. But yes, this movie was as far as I remember, leaps and bounds better than Quantum. So, you got anything on it? Give me some things, and I can exchange with you.
I appreciate your monologue. I'll offer another one of my own. Maybe you can break it up. But hello, James. Welcome. Do you like the island? My grandmother had an island. Nothing to boast of. I won't do the whole thing. I just spent the past 20 seconds looking it up just so I could do a bit. It was worth it. I think it was worth it personally.
It's totally good.
Anyway, it's just rats eating rats.
I can't wait to see this fucking guy in Dune. And by the way, everything I watch kind of lends itself to Dune, but I cannot wait to see Javier in Dune. He is going to nail the role of the guy that he's playing. I can't remember his name, but I cannot wait for it. He's a fantastic fucking actor. Javier is.
I agree.
Sorry.
So let me try to at least address, I think, the things that you talked about, and maybe I'll have some other novel thoughts of my own. We'll see. I really like the title track. I think Skyfall is a great song. It's not my. I mean, my name is still my favorite for the Craig Bond songs, but I think Skyfall is up there with it. It's very, very different, obviously. It feels a bit more traditional Bond, I think, in terms of its orchestration and composition, but I think it's really good.
There's Adele's great.
Thematically, maybe I guess fine. I mean, I don't know. I don't really know what to say about that, but I just like it. I think it's a good Adele track that just happens.
It's a good
to be
Adele
Bond
track,
song.
is what it is.
Yeah, fair enough.
It harpers a lot on Skyfall. It felt like it was just written around Skyfall, and that's my quarrel with it. That's it. It's a well sung. Adele's a fabulous singer. She's fucking awesome. She's an awesome vocalist. But it just felt like it was just kind of contrived. Is the way I felt about it.
It's very plainly a song
for a movie,
written for a Bond film called Skyfall.
That's it.
Unabashedly, right? Sure. Sure. I think that's fair enough. You know, I don't really have an argument against that. I just think it's a really
you like
good
the song. Yeah, it's cool.
And I think the way that it's done, as you talked about, kind of the way that it segs into that with Bond falling and crashing into the water, I think is all really cool and good.
And that is
and
cool.
It kind of and it fits the vibe when it's just like, oh shit, James Bond just got shot and fell 300 miles to his maybe death, but not really. He's fine. He's totally fine.
How do you survive that shit?
He's just got a bullet lodged into his shoulder, so he can't shoot that good. No shooty good anymore. But Skyfall, best cinematography of the Daniel Craig era. Roger Deakins is a god. The stuff, particularly when the assassination is getting set up across buildings in Shanghai, and you get kind of the silhouette fight. Gorgeous, gorgeous stuff. It almost got shades of that in Shang-Chi most recently, you know. But the colors there, just the use of like I said, the silhouettes is just really, really stunning. And I think that the rest of this film kind of holds. You know, I think it shines as much as that does. I think that there are really interesting settings in this overall. I think even kind of this. Rundown town that we meet Silva in. You know, it's just like this abandoned island.
It's cool as shit, actually.
It's really, really gorgeously shot. I think the third act is really well done. You know, obviously when we see the manor go on fire, just the use of colors and, you know, the hard contrast between, you know, the light that we see with the fire and the darkness that, you know, is because it's dark. I think it's all exquisitely shot. It's far more exquisitely shot than how I described it, is what we'll say, because I'm not word and good. But I think that's one of the highlights of this film. I think that this, to me, starts to represent a shift away from the grounded nature of Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace, or I forgot the damn title, to the more traditional Bond-y type elements. And I think that it's not like, I think it works pretty well in the context totally of this film. You know, we get an introduction of Q, as you mentioned, but we also get an introduction of Moneypenny, and a very different Moneypenny than we've ever seen, where she's out in the field, she's shooting Bond, trying to accidentally kill him, but, you know, it's fine or whatever, no big deal. You know, no.
She gives him that
no
shave.
harm, no foul.
She gives him that shave in Shanghai.
She gives him that
though.
shave, little sensual
shave
going on there. What's going on there?
And they have the witty exchange while they're doing it too. It's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. This is true. But you know, you're getting these little elements, and you know, and I think that the little things like that, you know, with the Q being like, you know, we don't really go for exploding pens or whatever, is just, you know, a little, you know, wink and a nod to previous Bond films. And so the extent of
radio
is like, that's the extent of the gadgetry in this, is like, oh my God, radio. Can you believe that? But what I mean, I think more than just like going back to some more traditional Bond elements, is I think that Silva, Javier Bardem's villain, is a bit more bombastic, theatrical, over the top, as opposed to Le Chiffre, who I think is a pretty grounded villain who happens to just, you know, have tears of blood that occasionally come down. Like, that's a little Bond quirk, but it's not his central character. It's not about the fact that he, like, you know, has these tears of blood that come down. You know, it's just a character trait, whereas. And then in Quantum, it's just like I said, evil businessmen. It's and an evil general. You know, it's very straight characters. Here, it's, you know, grandiose, monologuing villains with facial deformities because he took a cyanide capsule and it melted his face, but he didn't die.
That stood out forever too. I think of this movie, I think of him pulling out his teeth.
Right. So I think this goes back to some more traditional Bond ideas of having an over the top villain who is just very much about hamming it up in some ways. I mean, I think Javier Bardem is having a hell of a time, you know, making this film. I think he's good. You know, he's unhinged. He's off his rocker a bit. But I think that I at least understand his motivations of he's a good spy. maybe a little questionable, unsavory methods at times, but, he's M's favorite as he, proclaims himself to be, and he basically gets abandoned on a mission, and that things turn sour from there, and he kind of loses his mind a little bit and swears revenge on M for what, he perceives that she has done to him by abandoning him. I think it's a pretty understandable motivation. You feel betrayed. You feel personally betrayed. You want revenge. It's not too crazy. And he takes it to another level because he's a cyber terrorist and he can do whatever the hell he wants. And, whatever, he's James Bond villain. It is what it is, You're
going to manipulate the stock market? Boop. Done.
Boop. Boop. Done. Boop. 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 Oh, Mr. Bond.
Click of the mouse. Boop. Done. Boop. He's so good. It's so good.
The bleached blonde hair and eyebrows make him.
Yes.
I think if you got rid of that, I honestly think that.
I love when they're flirting when he's tied to the chair. He said, "Who says this is my first time?" Oh, Bond.
Oh, Mr. Bond.
It's so good.
Mommy was
good.
Very bad. I think if you get rid of it's almost the visage of him, almost like everything about the character is kind of turned to 11. And I don't think in a bad way.
If you get rid of that, if you get rid of him and recast him, I really think you have less of a movie. I think
you lose a little bit because I think through the ridiculousness of what the character looks like and then the voice that he talks in, the little details of it, they kind of make him very memorable. You know what I mean?
For sure.
And they make him very, very, very traditional Bond-esque type villain. Theatrical, and that's what they're going for. It's very much not what Casino and Quantum were trying to do. It's trying to do that. And I think that for what it is attempting to do, I think it's successful. I think it's successful because Javier brings a lot to it. And I think it's successful because the character makes sense for what he is. He's got understandable motivations and that's kind of, he's got this twisted, ideology that's kind of developed out of those, but it all kind of fits together, and I think it works pretty well. So I like him as a villain. I think he's good. Most of this film, I feel like we don't see him until almost 45 minutes in, but I think he's very compelling, and an interesting contrast to this James Bond, who is more of a realistic character than we'd seen, where he's still trading barbs with Silva, but it's not like it's not like Pierce Brosnan in Diamond Face, or you know what I mean. It's not like that, where this still feels like he's the more ridiculous element, and Bond is a very grounded.
This guy's lost his
element.
Fucking marbles. He's fucking.
So it makes it more of a contrast, where Bond is this grounded figure, and then you have this guy who's lost his marbles. One's sitting at a 1 or 2 in terms of, and the other one's at an 11, where it's just, that contrast works. I think it works. But I think in terms of the other aspects of this film beyond that,
Ralph is great. Ralph,
yes.
Is it Ralph? It's Phineas?
It looks like it should be Ralph Fiennes, but because I don't know what the hell they do in England, his name is Ralph Fiennes.
Okay,
don't ask.
Ralph Fiennes. Okay,
don't ask.
I'll take it.
So I think he's very good. He's good. Obviously, this is a passing of the torch in a way. It's the last full film appearance that we get from Judi Dench as M, and we get Rafe Gareth Mallory taking over the role of M at the end of this film. But I think that in some ways, as much as this is a James Bond film, it really is an M film in its own sort of way, because M is so crucial to Silva's motivations. M is such a central character to obviously Bond, and this really, M in her own way is kind of a Bond girl in this. You don't really have a you don't really have a hard, clear love interest in this. You know, there's intrigue with him and Severine, who works for Silva, and they share a passionate moment. You could say, but
typical Bond thing. That's all it is.
Typical Bond thing. She is quickly dispatched of, you know, once they arrive to this island. But it's brutal. It's a brutal moment too, of just, you know, and kind of just swept under the rug a little bit of, you know, Silva just killing her.
Boom. What are you gonna do now?
Moving on, but yeah, and yes, you mentioned the straight razor shave that Moneypenny and Bond have, but other than that, it's not. There's no Vesper, and there's no. Yeah, I mean, really, since Vesper, there really hasn't been to this point a clear like Bond is like, oh, I'm really into you. It's really just like, I like sex. Sex is cool. I'm cool with this. You know what I mean?
And
like that's kind of Bond's.
They flirt so good.
You know,
I wish I could flirt like James Bond.
He flirts with anyone. He'll flirt with Silva. He doesn't. You know, he doesn't give a shit. So that's kind of what it is. But
Ralph, I want to say this about Ralph. It was cool how he gets introduced as this character that just kind of wants to take the job, but then. When they're doing the thing in the courtroom or whatever, and M's getting pressed. I say M for her because Judi Dench's character has not been replaced yet, so she's still M.
She's still M at that point.
Yeah. Right? So Mallory actively kind of defends her in that hearing. You know, hey, let her talk. But then he takes a bullet to protect her. And then that's kind of when it's revealed that this character is not just like trying to grab at the position. He kind of, you know, there's more to the character. And then he shows up down in the garage when they're making bread trails and stuff, you know, trying to direct Javier's character to Skyfall.
To Skyfall, yeah.
You know, he goes down there and he says, "Oh, good idea, blah 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 blah." You know what I mean? Do this and that, you know, and then. Now you can kind of see that he's potentially going to make a very good M, you know? And I like him as an actor regardless. I think he's a fabulous actor. I think he's very good. I also kind of like how just the way he like embodies the role of like what I would perceive as a British suit acting like, you know, he's wearing his suspenders and he kind of puffs out his chest a little bit, and you know, just kind of the way he acts the character and his what's the word I'm looking for? Like his body motions, the way he character, the way there's a word for it. I can't think of the fucking word. God damn it! I've had too much alcohol. I can't think. But his mannerisms.
Talking about Skyfall, you're a little off your game.
His mannerisms seem like they are very true to what I would anyway. Like if I were to think as a British person in a position of power would act like, that's what I would think he would carry himself that way. But then he quickly kind of turns that on the head when he takes a bullet to protect them. And there's a lot there. There's just as much there, arguably, as there is to like the duty to country and the duty to England as M and as James Bond. So I feel like it's a good passing of the torch, if you will.
Definitely, yeah. It's a good send off, a good, you know, like I said, good setup of a new M, new Q, new Moneypenny, like all that's kind of there. But really, yeah, just closing the book on Judi Dench's, you know, iteration of M. You know, she's really, really a huge part of this, and
she's great.
And she's great. I think she's fantastic. I think she's Judi Dench. She's just great in general, but she's really, really good here. She's been good in the James Bond franchise, but here, you know, because there's just so much more on her.
That's all I ever know her as is M. She's forever M in my mind.
She was also M in the Pierce Brosnan films, so she's really just been M for fucking ages at this point. Yeah, I mean,
good actress though.
She is. She's very good. But I think giving her this kind of send off, it's interesting having that relationship between her and Bond be kind of the like I said, the crux of this film. And obviously it's the relationship between her and Silva that's kind of the crux of their conflict. But I think it's good because M's been such a crucial part of this franchise, so that this kind of highlights that point. And oh yeah, like I said, like you said, passing of the torch is really kind of what it ultimately turns out to be, and it's a big transition point, I think, from Bond too. But yeah, it's really good. I like the focus on her. Scattered thoughts. What do I want to say? The last thing I think I probably want to say about this film, you didn't like the third act, is I think what you said on a couple occasions already. It's I think I like it because it's a subversion of your traditional Bond ending where and everything's going crazy, and you have a big set piece, and this isn't really. It's a set piece, right? It's a set piece, but it's almost a self-contained set piece at James Bond's childhood home in Scotland. It's just that's a little different. It's a little different where they're setting up these booby traps, and basically everyone's just going full Home Alone in preparation for Silva to arrive. We got the gamekeeper Kincaid, who I think is great. I think he was. I really, really enjoyed him. But is it? What is it about it that you don't like? Do you just prefer the more bombastic kind of traditional type thing, or was it the execution of this that didn't land for you? Like what?
No,
what
the
is
execution was great. The cinematography was great. It was shot beautifully. It was well acted. It's interesting.
Just doesn't really feel like a third act kind of thing for you, or something.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel like a Bond movie.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, fair. Yeah, sure.
And that's pretty much it. It just doesn't feel Bondish. Even though, like the thing that was great about Casino Royale was it was simple. But setting up booby traps and stuff and going back to the guy that's got the shotgun, it was cool, and it offered a lot to the character, I guess, but it just felt out of place, I think. It just didn't feel Bondish to me. It was shot good. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got. It just wasn't.
I mean, it's definitely a different feel. And I think it's a deliberate subversion of expectations, of expecting things to be big and bad, and I guess we do get the Aston Martin with the miniguns, right? Isn't that at the end of that, doesn't he open it up and open fire a little bit on the people?
No, they
blow it. They shoot it and blow it up. That's what it is.
They shoot the shit out of his car and it pisses him off.
Okay, I was thinking he might have done something before that.
No, there's no cool shit that happened. The coolest thing that happens is Judy Finch booby traps the lights, and she turns them on and they blow up, and then somebody steps on the thing. It's Home Alone. It's Home Alone in a James Bond movie,
definitely,
which is cool. I mean, there's an aspect of it that's cool and innovative. Like, wow, these people are really badasses, right? They can booby trap a house. It's cool.
Yeah.
But,
I totally get it. Like I said, I think, well, I'll say that I enjoyed it. I liked it. I think it's entertaining. To me, maybe it was because I'm coming off of, by the time I'm watching this, I'm coming off the mostly pointless action of Quantum of Solace. Here, I think that this reestablished order in the sense that the action still had a purpose in this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The beginning, this guy's got to drive. They got to recover the drive. It's got a bunch of information that you don't want to get out, to other people. So you got a big chase that ensues trying to take care of this, and then the rest of it's just kind of tracking that down, dealing with that, blah 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 blah. Silva escapes, and now it's basically all right. We're luring him into our own trap of sorts, So everything that we're like setting up here is basically because this is the only way that we know how to take this guy down, because he's been, a step ahead of us every bit of the way. So let's do this on our own home turf. Let's do it on our own terms. Let's make him come to us. I kind of liked it. I think it was in service of the story, and so I think I enjoyed it from that standpoint. But at the same time, I do understand that it's not what you'd expect from a Bond film. Absolutely, I think absolutely that's true. But I think again, coming off the back of action for the sake of action, it was refreshing. I think almost for me to kind of have this
I could probably
scaled
agree with
back version of it.
If I knew I wasn't going to fall asleep in the other movie, I'd probably really appreciate it.
So yeah, I mean, that's I guess the long and short of it for me. It's good. I like Skyfall. I feel like I don't know. It held up for me, but not to the same extent I think that Casino did. I still really liked it. But it doesn't reach those highs, one way or another. Like even if I like the third act more than you do, or
they're completely different movies.
It's still it's veering more towards that traditional Bond. And I think the trajectory continues with Spectre, and we'll talk about that. It's starting to drift from the things I think that made Casino unique and work so well. But as kind of a melding of Casino-esque sensibilities with more traditional Bond elements, I think it's pretty good. I think it's pretty successful overall. I think it does a pretty good job with it. I'm not a huge fan of him jumping off a Komodo dragon to get to a higher thing. I think it's a little silly. I think it's intended as a little Roger Moore tongue-in-cheek kind of thing
Roger
to happen.
Moore. Suck my balls, Roger Moore. He is my least favorite James Bond. Fucking Roger Moore.
It really felt like a little bit of an homage to the ridiculous sort of shenanigans that happened in his films. But
fucking Roger Moore, he's the worst. I do vividly remember his fucking movies.
That's funny. But anyway, I couldn't go without mentioning it. But I truly do think that might be it for me for Skyfall. So last minute thoughts for you. Are you ready to move to our final film?
Let's keep moving up. Let's keep moving up the ladder.
All right, let's go to Spectre. Spectre. That's how they say it in British.
In British.
In British. It's a little bit of a old school American Idol reference. God, I'm sure there's a YouTube clip of this somewhere, but there was this contestant that got rejected in the audition phase. And she was not happy with Simon Cowell's comments, and so she said that he should go back to British, not to Britain, not to England, back to British. So this is how they do things in British. They say the word Spectre as Spectre.
Spectre.
Anyway, I've had too many beers, clearly. So. Spectre was released November 6th of 2015, written by John Logan, Neil Purvis, Robert Wade, and Jez Butterworth, the most British man of all time. My name is Jez Butterworth. He's back.
Oh, what a fabulous name. God damn. Buttersworth.
Directed by Sam Mendes, back for a second time after Skyfall. Stars Daniel Craig, Christoph Waltz, Ben Whishaw, Naomi Harris, Dave Bautista, Andrew Scott, Rory Kinnear, Jesper Christensen, Monica Bellucci, and Ralph Fiennes. We have music courtesy of Sam Smith here. Writings on the Wall, written by Sam Smith and Jimmy Napes, performed by Sam Smith. In Spectre, a cryptic message from James Bond's past sends him on a trail to uncover the existence of a sinister organization named Spectre. Spectre. With the new threat dawning, Bond learns the terrible truth about the author of all his pain in his most recent missions.
Yes! Nailed it. Nailed it.
It was me, James. It was me, the author of all your pain.
That's fucking brilliant. That's good.
Oh, God. I gotta say, I didn't write that. I pulled that straight from the IMDb, so someone was having a bit of a laugh when they wrote that. The author.
You pulled that from IMDb?
Yeah. Well, that's usually how I roll it.
That's excellent.
I will occasionally reword them if I think they're a little awkward.
No, but that one's too good. You got to keep
Quantum
that one.
I reworded, but that one was perfect. It was pitch perfect as written, so I kept it as is, kept it fully intact. So, Spectre. This is the penultimate film for Daniel Craig's run as James Bond, the most recent one until obviously No Time to Die, which just came out. It's been 6 fucking years since Spectre came out. That's really kind of hard to wrap my head around because obviously it being the recent one, it's in your brain a little bit more than some of the others, but it's well, what do you think about Spectre?
I'll talk about Spectre.
What do you think about Spectre?
Okay. So, I think that this one has one of the most compelling songs. I really like this song.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
I like Chris Cornell's song. Chris Cornell nails it. I mean, it's Chris Cornell. It's a good song. This song is good independent of everything James Bond. Like, it's just a really fucking good song. That's what I would say about the song. Okay. This movie, I think, is it's got some excellent cinematography. I think it's shot. I think this is probably the best, in my opinion. I think that this one, you do have the sequences in Skyfall that are really like memorable. You got the skyscraper fight scene, which was super artistic and super well done. That's an incredible sequence in its own right. You have the approach of the Shanghai casino, which was really, really awesome, really cool. You have the whole cinematography with the abandoned city, which was excellent. It was a beautiful movie to watch. I think that this one's got some excellent one-shots.
Yeah,
which are really cool.
I agree.
And I think that those one-shots they're just so hard to capture, right? So if you can pull off a one-shot, I think it's just so good. There's something about it that scratches a real good itch with one continuous sequence of film. And so for that reason, that and the helicopter sequence in the beginning in Mexico City or wherever it's at, that's really cool. There's a lot of really cool sequences in this movie. But this movie does have the most egregious and most contrived and most irritating fucking ending that I really, really, really just really don't like it. I really don't like it. The fact that the head of the agency that he's pursuing happens to be his foster half brother or some shit. I really think that's just fucking stupid, and it's a terrible misstep, and it's insulting, and I really dislike it. And it puts a super bad taste in my mouth in what would otherwise be a really cool Bond movie. I like the beginning sequence a whole lot.
Let's talk about that. Let's
start there. Okay.
Let's piece this out. Let's not trade monologues. Let's piece this out together. We got, it's a very extended kind of opening sequence in Mexico City on a apparently fictional Day of the Dead parade. Apparently not a thing that actually happens in Mexico, but lo and behold, it happens in the James Bond universe. I'll tell you that.
They were having a fucking parade. That's cool.
They're having a parade, We got a cool one shot, kind of setting things up, which I think is pretty neat. Well done. You liked this, I gather. You liked the opening set piece in Mexico City?
I like the opening set piece, yeah. You got James Bond wearing his fucking tuxedo with his Skeletor looking shit. I don't know what's up with that. That's cool. Whatever. You know, he makes out with that lady, and we think we're gonna have a Bond, like a whatever, you know. And he's like, "Oh, no, peace, I'm out." And which is like a total James Bond thing to do. Just dips out in the middle of. He just wanted the room, you know. He wanted to get in the room, so he got in the room, and then you get the one-piece sequence of him walking along the rooftop of the building, and here he is about to assassinate somebody, and then, you know, I guess they catch him or whatever. Shoots the bomb, the whole building blows up. For some reason, they're still having the parade down the block. I don't look too deep into it. You think if a bomb goes off and a building collapses, like, maybe the parade will be called off, especially since it's only like a block away. But no, they go through with the parade, so that's cool.
Right?
Yeah, and then it's followed up by the crazy helicopter sequence. I thought that was well done. I thought that was cool. I enjoyed it. You got some sort of stunt helicopter pilot in there doing some sort of crazy shenanigans and stuff.
Spinning in circles for a while.
Yeah, it was cool. I like that. I take that. It's almost reminiscent to the James Bond thing where they do the helicopter thing with in not the James Bond, but Mission Impossible. Helicopters are cool, you know, helicopter chase sequences and stuff, and I like that. I thought that was cool. Yeah. So I like the Mexico City deal. I think it's a really cool introduction to a movie. It's really fast paced. It's kinetic. You got some cool cinematography in there, and it doesn't let up in the beginning, which is, like I said, I think it's a cool step to set the pace of the movie. So,
yeah, I remember when I watched this. Probably what I will say is when I rewatched it, it's probably maybe the third time that I've seen this film. Period. I think I saw it once in theaters. And I either saw it a second time in theaters or I watched it once more since it came out, like on Blu-ray and stuff. So I think this is at most the third time that I've seen it. I remember liking the introduction to this film, you know, and it standing out as kind of one of my favorite parts of the film. I think that may still be true, to be honest. But I did find it a little overlong, I think, in my assessment. I did find that the helicopter bit dragged for a bit, and it was kind of just like, why do I care? What's this all about? You know, I think I was a little bit lost in it at a certain point of not really getting what it was. It was just, again, turning into action for the sake of action. But it's like, fine, you know, it's an opening sequence. Obviously, you don't have 2 hours of exposition to set everything up. So it's just James Bonding about. And I liked the setting. I thought that was very cool. And you know, the costume changes and stuff was all very well done. So I think even though I felt it was a little overlong, I did enjoy it. I still think it is kind of one of the better parts of the film. And I mostly think that's because of how the rest of the film plays out. But yeah, okay, all right. So we got two takes on the opening sequence, and then let's move on to some other things in the film. What else?
What else happened in that movie?
It's a great question. That's a great question. I mean, shit, man. You tell me.
No, you know, he goes to visit Mr. White, I guess, at some point.
It's a little bit later. So let's before that happens, he goes to Rome, and I was watching with Anna, and she was living in Rome at the time that they filmed this.
That's
movie. Fucking
rad. That's cool.
And so I know that I think she saw part of it being filmed, or was around it. She recognized a lot of the locales, which was really cool. This is the part, like the Rome cinematography particularly was excellent.
Yeah.
I liked all of the Rome stuff. I thought the Rome stuff was great. It's basically Bond, going to this funeral for the widow of the man he just killed in the whole Mexico City sequence, and it's Monica Bellucci, great, you know what I mean? And
she's wearing that croissant or whatever the fuck that is. Not a croissant. Croissant's a fucking sandwich.
I don't even know what word you're looking for, but it's probably not croissant.
The thing that's tied. They tied
corset.
Corset, croissant.
She's wearing a croissant around her waist.
Why would, in that language, why would they fucking word those things so close together? Anyways, I digress. Those should be two radically different words.
Oh, it's pretty funny. But anyway, I think all that is really good. The Rome stuff, the set pieces there, like just using Rome in general is good. It works really well.
It's a new set piece. We haven't seen that yet.
It's a new set piece. It's different. It's pretty. It's cool. I think this is when Bond crashes on the meeting, right?
Yes.
And so you get two things here, right? You get one, your introduction to a shadowy version of Christoph Waltz's Franz Oberhauser, aka he's just fucking Blofeld. They did the whole thing in the marketing of this film, which is like, it's totally not Blofeld. We totally promise. Just in the same way that Benedict Cumberbatch was totally not Khan in that one Star Trek film, he's totally not Blofeld. Oh, he's fucking Blofeld. He's fucking Blofeld. Khan. So we get that. We get number one. Let's talk about number one. The introduction of Christoph Waltz. What is your assessment? Okay, your feelings on, I'm your brother from another mother, blah, blah, blah. They're well stated, and for what it's worth, I fully agree. Fucking dumb bullshit. And completely unnecessary. It's not
unnecessary. Why would you do that?
It was me, James, the author of All Your Pain.
You could have all of that.
Because you stole my daddy for 2 months and I hated you for it. So now I've made up everything that happened in the previous films. It was all me, James. I did everything. I made Lashif bleed from his eyeball. It was me, James. I made that one guy steal all the water. It was me, James. I made Silva bleach his hair blonde. It was me, James.
He was meant to entice you, James.
just fuck off. I mean, honestly, just fuck. It's insulting. It really is. It's just because
you can have a big bad head of the organization. That's cool. Yes, I don't have a problem with that at all.
Of course, someone's
but
got to be in charge. But the
whole you stole my daddy for 2 months. It's just fucking oof. Why would you do that? Who signed off on that shit? No, we're just gonna have him be. We're just gonna have him be the leader of a bad organization. That's totally fine.
I gotta imagine this guy is just evil, and a lot of bad shit happened, and lo and behold, someone who's a spy got caught up in the web of it. Like, that's not that crazy. I mean, like I said, the ridiculousness of like everything that's happened in the 3 prior films is magically of my doing. I'm like, I don't really buy that. That's a full retcon. But I can get on board with that if you're not also trying to tag that with, oh, but also we're like sort of related and we met once upon a time and I faked my death in a skiing accident or whatever the fuck happened. And then I built myself up to being, the author of All Your Pain. Just what? I mean, what?
And to be fair, I will admit, I really enjoy Christoph Waltz.
I like Christoph Waltz as an actor. I unfortunately think that he had very little to rescue here.
Obviously he's not Javier Bardem, because Javier Bardem saved that fucking last movie.
Yeah, and I think that the Silva character was very over the top and like dramatic, but and certainly Blofeld is here too. I just think that. Whereas that one was just like, he's an unhinged guy on a personal vendetta. Like, fine, whatever, you can chalk it up to that. Like him.
They tried to do the same thing with Blofeld.
They tried to do the same thing, but they tried to do too much with it in the sense that, like, the motivations don't really make that much sense. The machinations of how like everything comes into place the way that he says that they do doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
It's stupid and insulting. Is that
it's really at best lazy writing, just like very convenient. Everything is convenient. Everything ties together because we say that it ties together, and so fine. But like at worst, it's just It's insulting. Yeah, at best it's lazy and convenient. At worst, it's just insulting our intelligence. You know what I mean? Of just being like, we don't trust you, to be able to understand that like James Bond is just going to come across multiple threats and his fucking career as a super spy for England. Like, no, everything has to be orchestrated by one man, who he's seen before and had interact. It's a bridge too far.
That's
and not only is it a bridge too far, but there's a bridge on the side of the bridge. Daniel Craig's little bit in Knives Out about the donut and the donut hole. It's that, but for fucking plot holes built within plot holes. It's just so insulting in terms of how they really tried to orchestrate this. And I think, for my money, a lot of this comes down to the fact that behind the scenes, it's purely behind the scenes stuff here. The rights to Spectre as an organization, I don't believe passed to Eon Productions until after the making of Skyfall. And so, you can't call anything Spectre. You can't use the character Blofeld. They sorted all that rights situation out, and then that leads to the making of Spectre.
And there's a way
the introduction of this Blofeld character, and there's absolutely a way to do that. What I think is I think what kind of takes the wind out of the sails of trying to do that is that they kind of already did it. Quantum of Solace, for all of its faults, kind of already did the secret organization thing, and this kind of spins it into it's a branch, it's it's part of Spectre. Quantum and Spectre are one and the same. However they explain it, I don't remember the exact specifics, but it's just kind of like, this is already a well-trodden territory. You've done this before. It's not new. It's not interesting. It's not well done. There's nothing about this that's compelling because we've seen it in some ways already. And also it's just, it's just very fucking poorly done, very poorly written in terms of how it's presented. So it just doesn't really work from any standpoint. And it sucks because I think there is a way. I think Quantum did it well enough as setting up this mysterious organization. Like, Quantum didn't fully resolve, who's in charge and what are they all about? Why are they doing this? Why are they bankrolling, evil businessmen trying to take control of the water of everything? Like, those are all still questions left unanswered. So there's still a way to do all that. But I can safely say this was not the way to do it.
Yeah, no,
you know what I mean?
So. I completely agree with that.
And it's an unfortunate waste of Christoph Waltz, who is a very talented actor, who's great. And I just think that, cuckoo, James, cuckoo, like that's just not going to do it. Cuckoo. It's just not going to do it. Anyway, those I realize we kind of just took the introduction of Blofeld and just ran with it into just bitching and moaning about Blofeld's whole dumb shit fucking presence in this film. But the other thing I was going to point out about this is the introduction of Dave Bautista in this film. And I think that when this film came out, it would have obviously been post Guardians of the Galaxy 1. But it's still probably an earlier role for Dave Bautista. So, let me ask you. I like having this be, interactive. How did you feel about Dave Bautista's role in Spectre?
So, Dave Bautista in Spectre was nothing more than a wrestler in a movie.
Which I think is a shame, right?
Yeah, no, he's definitely an accomplished actor. He's definitely an accomplished actor. I mean, I don't know if he was an accomplished actor.
Someone else we're going to see in Dune.
That's right. Yep, absolutely. I will say that I enjoyed his presence in this movie. I mean, he was just a fucking force to be reckoned with, and James Bond without
some metal fingernails, man.
He did have metal fingernails. He killed people by gouging out their eyeballs, which would be, if you died from gouging out your eyeballs, that'd be a terrible way to fucking go. That'd be real rough.
Yes, I will say, slight sidebar here. Very funny thing, I think for us particularly, maybe not for the listeners as much. I finished Spectre, Anna and I finished Spectre at her parents' house And we had just set up a new TV and soundbar for them, and we noticed the sound was slightly out of sync. And so Dave Bautista's gouging the eyeballs, and the way that he smacks this guy's head right into the fucking table, and the sound that it makes, that was our gauge. That was our Abuya-O
no way,
reference
that's
point.
What you used?
Yeah, because the first time we watched it, we were like, I think the voices, like, you know, the voices and the lips are a little like off, like it doesn't seem right. And then he slams this guy's head into the table, and it takes like a half second for anything like to you know, right. for the big bang to happen. It's like, all right, it's definitely fucked. We got to fix it.
We're just gonna watch him pound this guy's head in the table for half an hour to dial it in.
yeah, we did. We got to figure it out, though. No big deal. So anyway, yes, you know, he was a force.
It was a waste.
And I felt like it was a waste, and I also felt like they kind of... I couldn't remember how the film went, but like, you know, his character gets wrapped around with the shit on the train, and then he gets pulled off the train. And I was just like, he probably shows up later and does something else. And I was just like, and then at the end of the movie, I was like, oh, I guess Dave Bautista never did come back after that little bit. So
he got yanked off a chain by his neck by like 9 kegs.
Yeah, and it makes sense. It makes sense for that character to die. I'm not disputing that. I was just like, oh, that was it. They did nothing with him. They gave him literally one line of dialogue. The final scene, and
they shoved him in that itty bitty little fucking hypercar, that super sport car.
Yeah, they did do that too.
It was funny when James Bond was pushing that little Fiat. No, it wasn't a Fiat. Was it a Fiat? Yeah, I think it was a Fiat.
Where are we talking?
Yeah,
like which part of the film?
During the car chase where he pushes the little bitty car. Because he won't get...
Oh, right. They won't get the fuck out of his way. Yes. Right. Yeah. The Italian man. Oh, what are you doing?
Yeah,
you know?
That's funny. Dave Bautista's character was largely a...
kind of nothing.
I wonder what he got paid for that role.
I don't know. Probably not enough. Probably not enough is what I would guess. But
you know, I mean,
because it was like, I think you're totally right. At that point, he was viewed as a wrestler. You know what I mean? And I think that with the benefit of hindsight, that we know Dave Bautista's got some fucking chops, man. Like, you know, he's definitely way more than just a wrestler, and you know, he doesn't need to be a silent henchman type. And I'm like, he brought a lot of physicality to that character, but it was just a nothing character otherwise.
Right.
And I think that's kind of disappointing, especially when the main villain fucking sucks too. So it's, you know, it's just kind of not much going on in that department, I think, overall for this film. But anyway, all right, blah, 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 Rome, blah, blah, blah. Mr. White comes in, and Bond reunites with Mr. White, who's also in Quantum of Solace, if you happen to get around to that. He's also part of that.
He was
kind of how the film begins.
He was part of the first movie, too, wasn't he? Wasn't that the guy he shot in the leg? Yeah.
Yep. Because Quantum really does pick up, you know, the end of Casino is James Bond, and he's with this guy. The beginning of Quantum is that guy's in his trunk and he's trying to escape to get him to a safe house to get interrogated, and then shit goes sideways from there. So that's how Quantum begins. And so Mr. White makes his reappearance in this franchise after an absence in Skyfall here. And, you know, kind of sets up, I think, Bond's quest, you know, in this. I will say, and this was a completely unintentional slight, I somehow missed putting Léa Seydoux' name in the cast members of this film. She plays Madeline Swan, who is the daughter of Mr. White, and she's obviously a very, very fucking important character in this film. Right. So my apologies. She's absolutely not listening to this, of course, but my apologies to the listeners that noticed that and realized that I'm a dumbass. So it happens.
And she's a good Bond girl too. I like her.
Yeah, well, okay. Well, let's just seg into your thoughts on Madeline. What you,
Miss Swan?
So you like her, Miss Swan, yes.
Yeah, she's cool.
You liked her?
You know, you get the sequence with this one's got the sequence with the plane, right?
The plane. Oh God, I'm really just struggling to remember this fucking movie.
So this one has M's on the ski lift, and the bad guys are on the ski lift, and he like runs away, and this is where he goes and introduces himself in Switzerland or Denmark or whatever Scandinavian country she's in, and she's the psychologist, and he says, "Listen, your dad wants me to come and protect you, blah 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 blah, and I'm gonna come get you out because these guys are coming to kill you." And so they try to escape. He's flying the plane. And he flies the plane into the forest or whatever, and it rips all the wings off the plane. And he drives the plane through the snow. You don't remember any of this?
Yes, that's okay. Until you got to the part with the wings coming off, I'm just like, I don't fucking remember any of this. I really don't fucking remember any of this. Because, and you could ask Anna the same thing. I think I said something to her a few days ago after we watched it, where it was just like, the action just like, it really is just noise to me in this film. And that whole bit of the thing with the plane, and also where the fuck does Bond get that plane? I mean, he's James Bond, fine, he's cool and he gets gadgets and shit, but it was just like, give me some sort of setup for like how this man is just 2 seconds later fucking full ass flying a plane, has taken it off, and he's flying alongside people. Like, come on. But I was just like, he's got this plane, okay, he's flying with them, like, whatever, man. But once the wings came off and he starts sledding along, I'm like, all right, this is fucking fun. I like this. I like this bit. I like this bit when he's just sledding along in the wingless plane. So literally until you said the wings come off, I was blanking. But now I remember, and I was just like, oh shit, is he spoiling the next movie? I just watched that literally a day ago, but I'm like, I don't know, maybe that was in the other one. I really don't remember what happened in this fucking movie. Maybe my brain is like subconsciously trying to do me a favor or something. But anyway, yes, you are correct. That is Spectre that you're talking about. I think you are correct.
That's right. And that was okay. I mean,
it was fine. It was fine. It was like fine. Yeah,
it was an action sequence. Yeah. It wasn't mind-numbing enough for me to be put to sleep. And
for what it's worth, none of the action is poorly shot in the way that Quantum is. In this one, it's cleanly shot. You know what I mean? It's
totally fine. It's totally fine.
It's you can see what's happening. You make out what's happening. I think for me, the bigger concern is I don't really give a shit about what's happening most of the time. Not all the time. Some of it's fine.
That's fair.
But even just like that little car chase between Dave Bautista and Bond was just like, I don't know, like it was cool seeing the set piece because like seeing the, taking this little tour of Rome was like kind of cool, but like the urgency of it, I didn't feel in any way.
No, it's totally
it just kind
fair.
of felt like
it was kind
of just felt like it was like
a passing thing.
He's still driving fast. You know what I mean? Like James Bond drives fast. We've established that. That's what he does. And he's still driving fast, but it just kind of just felt like I don't know, like a little dance across Rome in cars, you know what I mean? Like there was no like, it was just like they were just like toying with each other in its own sort of way. It wasn't like he was trying to really like fucking kill him. I feel like the other films have had that urgency where it's just like, we're not having fun. I'm trying to fucking murder you, and like
right.
This one was like missing a lot of that. I felt,
especially in that sequence where he was chasing them in the cars. I mean, there was really nothing there, and then he parachutes out. The fight sequence in the train on the train was pretty good though.
Yeah, that's a little bit more urgency to it of hand to hand combat. You can't really like pussyfoot around that.
And then you got the sequence where Bloomfield reveals himself and everything else, and it was terribly insulting. And then he puts him in the chair and tries to drill out his brain.
It was me.
I'm going to take all your memories, James. I'm going to take them all.
It was me, James. I'm going to drill into your brain, James, and I know exactly the spot to drill. Oh, but you remember everything. I guess it didn't work all that well. I don't really know what I'm doing, James.
That was really... I really did not like that part.
It's silly, and not in a good way. Not in a Silva, Skyfall-y sort of way, right? It's this whole elaborate torture scheme, but then it doesn't do anything. It has no effect on him. He's just like, is it because James Bond is the baddest motherfucker to ever live? Is it because he drilled the wrong spot and he sucks at figuring out what James Bond's spot to drill in is? It just
Yeah, no, it was real shit. At the end of this movie,
it's fucking stupid, and like I just, I don't know if it was just like sloppy writing, and like I've seen it maybe 3 times max, and like maybe I'm just fucking missing some massive plot point or something like that, but
it was stupid.
It just doesn't make sense to me.
Stupid.
It just doesn't make sense, and it's starting to lean into these like, I don't know what to say, like it's just. It's all, like I said, at best, it's just being convenient, where it's just like, oh, James Bond, he's cool, so he can do whatever he wants, and so he survives this torture shit. And at worst, it's just insulting of just being like, no one thought it through of just how the fucking actual thing would work. And it's like, great, you want to have James Bond get out of it? Great, of course, you want to have him have his memories of Madeline intact. Like, great, I'm all for that. But like you got to figure out a way to get there. Like you can't expect the audience to just be like, I guess it's fine.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Right.
Like that's just not good filmmaking. It's not good writing.
And that's where this one drops off. Like it drops off hard.
It's bizarre though.
After Rome,
to me, it's bizarre.
After Rome, it falls off a cliff.
Huge way. Yeah, I mean. It's the same writers as the other ones. I mean, maybe they were rushed or something like that, but like fucking Quantum of Solace survived a goddamn writer's strike and like was not this incoherent. So it's kind of just like, what happened here?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I'm a little perplexed by how Spectre kind of ended up being such a misfire. Overall, like. Cinematography, I'll agree with you. I think I like it's got elements that absolutely should make for a super compelling Bond film, and some of it works, sure, but on the whole,
the third half,
it's missing.
Just
it's missing a lot.
Blows it up in James Bond fashion,
and not in a Skyfall sort of way. Like even from your perspective
no.
I'm not a huge fan of this. It's not traditional Bond, but it's executed well. Blah blah blah.
It's insulting. It's bad.
It's bad from the beginning, and it's executed poorly.
Yeah.
So it's really a double whammy of badness.
And it's only, in my opinion, after Rome, it gets real shit.
Right. Which,
like,
I don't know. I mean, I think honestly, I think there are elements leading up through Rome, like I said, the Rome car chases. Like this is
kind
a waste
of empty.
Of time.
It's kind of empty, but it's fine.
The helicopter stuff in the beginning for me lasted a little bit long, but like it's fine. It's fine. It's perfectly fine. It's building to something. It's building to Spectre, being some big deal, and it's the revelations that kind of come out of that are just
they just fall so flat.
Not only are they unsatisfying as resolutions to not only what we've seen in this movie, but also apparently what we've seen in the prior 3 films. It's just insulting, and it's just why, how? Maybe how is the better question. How did it come to this? Right? This is what the people that wrote these other films, and maybe it's Jez's fault. Maybe it's Jez Butterworth. Maybe it's Jez's fault. Maybe Jez fucked it all for us.
True.
I don't know. I don't know who to blame. He's the only new name to the bunch.
I'd like to know though. That'd be interesting to get these guys on the podcast. So what the fuck?
Yeah, come on
so
board.
What the fuck happened over there, guys?
So you guys following the James Bond template, having too much alcohol, and just turned in a script and said, fuck it, we're gonna George Lucas it and stick with our first draft. Thank you very much. What are they doing?
Because I don't know. I mean, there's, like you said, there's a lot of good filmmaking tendencies in this movie, and it falls short in the.
Yeah, it's well shot. It's pretty well acted. I think Craig is good. I think Christoph Waltz does what he can to rescue this fucking lame shit character that he's unfortunately forced to play. I mean, that he's paid lots and lots of money to play. I think Léa Seydoux, even though I excised her name from the cast, I think she's good. I like her as Madeline. I like the continued characters of Q, Moneypenny, M. Ray Fiennes as M here. We got another villain that we haven't talked about yet, Andrew Scott from Sherlock. He's playing C. and he's a smarmy little fucker.
Yeah,
the 00 program is fucking obsolete. I know everything. Like, look at me, I'm fucking cool. Oh shit, I'm falling off this thing. Oh, I'm dead.
And Ralph was like, "Oh, well, there he goes."
I don't know. There he goes. Yeah, all right. Well, serves you right, little fucker. He's fine. I think he was probably the best villain. You know what I mean? Like he was just like, bureaucrat,
maybe
but also working for Spectre.
I don't need 4 villains. I just need I just need one. I just need one good one. One
will suffice. Le Chiffre survived everything in Casino Royale. He survived the bullet in his head. Bring him back. He's the head of Spectre. It's better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's probably less contrived than making him the half brother of James. It's probably less contrived. He survived the bullet in the head.
That's the worst part.
Wait, no. There's literally already a James Bond villain that has a fucking bullet in his head. It's great. We've already done that. So it's established that you can do that. Do it again. Just bring him back. Maz will sell the shit out of this. It'll be fine.
It's I don't have a problem. Like I said, I don't have a problem with I'm the head of the organization and Quantum is a branch of my organization.
Fine, retcon it, blah, blah, blah,
and
whatever.
It's a perfect retcon. Like, it's perfectly right for whatever you want to mold it into. Just fucking mold it and make it happen. You don't have to make the head of the organization the guy that happened to grow up with James for 2 years over his dad.
Don't you know? It was me, James. It was me, Andrew. The author of all your pain.
And that's such a...
I wrote this movie. I'm Blofeld. I exist outside the confines of the James Bond film franchise, and I wrote this film so that you could have a terrible time talking about it on this podcast.
It's good. Like, I take it. I take that. I'm the author of all your pain because you're the asshole that keeps screwing up my fucking plans.
He's just like, I'm an evil asshole, and I've got my hands in every little pot.
That's cool.
And you, as a secret agent, like you're always coming up against me, but it all comes back to me. Not it all comes back to me because
I'm your brother.
Because my daddy liked you for a couple
that's
days,
the fucking
or
worst.
We went skiing one time, and
pissed me off.
I'm really upset about
6 years or however long it's been. It's pissed me off for so long. It's the worst. It is the worst in what could otherwise be a totally fine movie.
You take that one element away, it's a serviceable Bond film.
Yes,
I still think it's going to be the worst of the 4 that we're talking about on this episode for sure
because of that.
But that alone, well, I think that alone takes it from being a serviceable Bond film to being kind of a bad Bond film. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm with you. I hate that movie because of that. I hate that.
It's
movie.
Enough. It's a. Pardon me for doing this to you. It's a little Game of Thrones. A little
bit. I don't want it.
What I mean?
I don't want it.
I don't want it. It's not even what I mean, but I don't want it. Absolutely, I don't want it. It's taking things that worked and then just fucking it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, at least with this one, it's mostly just, it doesn't, Casino, Quantum, maybe not. Casino and Skyfall can stand on their own just fine. Spectre doesn't retroactively ruin them. Game of Thrones seasons 1 through 4 can still stand on their own, and the rest doesn't necessarily retroactively ruin it. The difference, obviously, being there's a lot more time invested in Game of Thrones, and so it makes it worse when you get to the end of it, and it just is the biggest fucking middle finger that you could possibly imagine. But this has echoes of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
On a smaller scale of just being like, it didn't have to be this way. It didn't have to be this way.
To us?
and Game of Thrones was the same way. It didn't have to be that way. They could have written a compelling ending, or at least written an ending that was internally consistent, even if I didn't personally feel satisfied by it. I wanted one thing and it gave me a different thing. Like, this wasn't that. It wasn't a case of, well, I really, really wanted it to be this thing, and it just I know I'm so personally disappointed that it didn't go the way that I wanted it to. It's like, nah, this is just kind of, objectively kind of pretty fucking stupid.
Yeah.
And that's putting it mildly, right? It's just pretty fucking stupid. So it sucks.
Mexico City was cool. Helicopter.
There's some high water marks in it. I think for me, I think Rome is kind of the high point of this film, and it never really quite.
Monica Bellucci is cool.
Yeah, she's good. Good stuff.
There's glimmers of hope.
I think she was
Christoph Waltz was entertaining
Bond girl that
as a villain.
That was older than Bond.
Christoph Waltz was entertaining as a. He was not Javier. Javier is excellent.
He did what he could. Unfortunately, I don't think it was enough, because
he was not Javier, and he's certainly not.
Who could rescue it?
He wasn't Maz.
It was not Maz.
But when you get to the core of the character and everything else, it was just written very poorly and dropped off. It was just fucking stupid. It was very bad.
Yeah.
And that's not Skyfall.
That's the other one that starts with an S that also was one word.
Spectre. That was Spectre. Yeah.
Yeah. My only last complaint, and I only say this, I don't think this is a spoiler. I only say this because it's setting up our next episode. I didn't really buy the love story between Bond and Madeline in this film. In this film, I did not buy it. It felt like they were trying to replicate the Vesper dynamic, where it's trading barbs at first, and then there's a passionate, mad love between them. But I think similar to the way that they didn't know how to write Spectre as an organization, and Bond and Blofeld's connection as protagonist and antagonist, I also didn't think that there was any subtlety to this. It very much went from, to get out of my life, I don't want to, I don't want to be associated with my father, blah blah blah, to I'm madly in love with you, James. And it's just like, why what did something happen off screen that I didn't see?
No, I understand that.
I felt like it was just too quickly there. Whereas I think Vesper and James and Casino Royale is totally earned. And it's not to the same level. Where it's not to the point where it's genuine. Just, I'm so madly in love with you, James. I just want to have 17 of your children, James. You know what I mean? It's not like that. It built to that point, and justifiably so. And here it's just very much like, I hate you, but also I feel like I fucking love you. It's just, I don't know. It was jarring, I think, a little bit for me. It felt like they were trying to hit some of the same beats.
It wasn't the same.
And I don't know if they just steered clear of just doing the exact same thing again, or they just didn't know how to do it. These guys have lost their touch. Jez is fucking everything.
Well, the thing that made Vesper so compelling was, like, James has this reputation of like being a stone hard killer, and he sees her grapple with the things that makes him that way. It was a much more internal kind of conflict. And that's what made the shower scene in the first movie so good. Right? Like, it was super heartfelt, and there was a lot of heart in that. And the heart has been missing in a lot of the subsequent films. Specifically this one. There was no fucking heart in this one. This one just, it was
missing.
This movie is very frustrating, because
it could have been something. The elements are there, and I think that I do think this is another thing I said to Anna. I do think this movie needed a page one rewrite. Those are the words that I used, because I just think, unfortunately, they didn't know how to put anything together. And I think that it's not just for me, it's not just fix the third act and it's fine. For me, it's you kind of need to creatively overhaul a lot of what you did in this film, I think, to really rescue it in a big sort of way. Like, I think if you fix the third act and get rid of certain things, for another example, being able to shoot down a helicopter from like a mile away with a pistol, maybe get rid of that. Maybe. I'm just saying, maybe get rid of that and it's fine. Like that's almost a minor grievance in the scheme of things, and like it shouldn't be. That should be the most egregious, like, it's pretty ridiculous even for James Bond kind of thing. But it's not. It's like, yeah, that's pretty par for the course at this point. I just think that this movie again needed that page one rewrite of, look, you have Blofeld in the fold, you have Spectre, and you want to tie certain things together. Great. Go for it. Quantum is part of Spectre, or it's an alternate name for Spectre. However you want to spin it, I think there's absolutely a way to do a lot of what they did. Rome being a set piece, and Dave Bautista's in as a henchman. Like, there's elements in that could work. I just think that the writing that they used in service of all of these little pieces, the plot developments, the characters, it just didn't work. And I think it needed to start fresh, I think, at a certain point. And so it's just a shame that this one kind of
shit the bed.
Yeah, 4 films in, it shits the bed. Like, say what you want about Quantum, say what you want about it, but it's not like this. It really isn't. So anyway, Spectre. I guess that's Spectre, right?
That was a movie. Yeah.
It was a movie that could have been so much more. Was clearly intended, if necessary, to be a final film for Daniel Craig as James Bond. Kind of walking off, he gets the girl, blah blah blah. Even though it's not totally earned, not totally justified, at least it would have been a happy ending for him, and so that would have been that.
Supposed to be, right? I thought that was.
I think they hedged their bets. You know what I mean? I think that they figured Daniel Craig, which I think it's kind of funny. I think after or during the press tour for Spectre, someone asked him, like, would you do another, like, are you going to do another one? He's like, I'd rather slit my wrists.
I do remember that. Like, I'm fucking done with this.
And I don't know if it was just because he read the script for Spectre, was like, God damn it, I can't believe that I'm contractually obligated to make this piece of shit. Or what happened, but clearly either money talks or something happened that he said, all right, I'll do this damn thing, because he came back for one more with No Time to Die. But it did seem like for Spectre, they figured, oh, maybe he's not going to come back. Maybe he won't. Maybe we won't be able to figure something out. So let's write an ending for this film that sends James Bond into the sunset with what we've apparently written to be the new love of his life, even though it doesn't really feel justified as such. That's fine. You know what I mean? Give James Bond a happy ending. Like, good. No, that's fine. So, obviously, there is still one more film to be discussed with No Time to Die. And we will discuss it indeed as a regular episode. It will be the episode that will follow this episode in our podcast feed. But yeah, that's that, I think, for Spectre, and I think probably that's it for our James Bond talk, for our Daniel Craig as James Bond talk.
For our biannual bonus episode.
Yeah, we'll see what the next one ends up being, but I was going to ask you, and if you'd rather, I'll give you the option. I was going to ask you a few questions in terms of rankings and stuff as far as the Daniel Craig Bond stuff is concerned.
Okay.
Do you want to go through it quickly, or do you want to just save it and do a final ranking for after we talk about No Time to Die?
I think No Time to Die needs to be included in the ranking.
Okay. We'll get a full 5. We'll have all 5 films.
The Daniel Craig.
We'll have given our thoughts about it. It'll be the complete Daniel Craig as Bond collection, and we'll be able to go from there. So, all right. So I think I'll press pause on that then for now. So we'll talk about song rankings, because we'll have one more to talk about some Billie Eilish to talk about. We'll have some more villains to talk about. We'll have Rami Malek to talk about, and we'll have some overall franchise rankings to talk about. We'll talk about 1 through 5. We'll rank them in order.
Got to dangle the carrot a little bit.
We'll dangle the carrot. That way, everyone comes back and listens to our No Time to Die coverage. Now, of course, what that means is go watch No Time to Die if you feel comfortable doing so. Out in theaters now. So go check it out. And then listen to our episode on that, and we'll close the loop on all of this goodness, all of the Daniel Craig James Bond goodness. We'll close the loop on all of it, all 5 films. So yeah, I think that will do it for bonus episode 24. Thank you all for listening to this. If you enjoyed what you heard, please spread the word. Again, I will reiterate the Patreon information, particularly for those of you who are listening to this on the regular feed. As this is a bonus episode, it is considered a timed exclusive bonus episode for our supporters on Patreon. So what that means is if you support us at patreon.com/watchreviewrepeat, which is just a $2 monthly donation, that means that you'll get that timed exclusive access to bonus episodes such as this one, which I know Andrew has joked about them being biannual, but perhaps we can do them with more regularity to justify it as a perk for our supporters on Patreon. But as I also said earlier, early access to our regular episodes it's a fucking gold mine right now, and you can get the unfettered access to full episodes. You may recall that very recently, within the past few episodes that we've put out, we split the Shang-Chi episode. That was all recorded in one session. On Patreon, you can listen to it in one complete, almost 4-hour block. Could you imagine anything greater? I'm just saying you could do it. I'm just saying. So anyway, Patreon has some perks, and I think if you're enjoying what we put out, and hopefully you are. Hopefully, if you're listening to this point 2+ hours in, you're enjoying what you hear. That's something that may be interesting to you. To get basically the premier access to all of the watch, review, repeat goodness that we try to put out on a semi-regular basis. Okay. Website is watchreviewrepeat.com. We're on Twitter at WRRPod. Like us on Facebook. Just search for Watch Review Repeat. Questions, comments, suggestions. We do a listener's corner on the regular pod, in which we talk about things that our listeners have been up to and respond to that. watchreviewrepeat@gmail.com if you want to participate in that. Intro and outro track Mechanolith by Kevin MacLeod, licensed under the Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license. I should probably also credit whoever the fuck came up with the James Bond theme, because copyright or blah blah blah. So good on you, good sir. Thank you for your work. Dun-dun, dun-dun, dun-dun. Yeah, thank you. So we'll be back with more Bond. We'll talk about No Time to Die. We'll be doing non-spoilers, recommendation, full spoilers for it, and that'll close the book on Daniel Craig as James Bond. That'll close our coverage of his work as James Bond as well. That'll be our next regular episode to follow this episode whenever it's up on the regular feed. Of course, bonus episodes in the future. Stay tuned. I'll just say stay tuned. Hopefully we can cook something up for our listeners, but I'm not sure what we have just yet, so I don't want to jump the gun on that one. Jump the gun, James Bond, gun barrel. All right, take us out.
Take care now. Bye-bye then.
The name's James Bond.
Nice.
James Bond. See, that's a little bit of an I Love You Man reference, which is what I usually do, so it's funny because it's the same. You guys get it. Later's on the men, Jay.